Hey, I'm here. Not much to say, honestly. I'm just kinda waiting it out to PAX at the end of this week. So, let's just jump into Chapter 3 tonight. We're at the first court part of Chapter 3. Wow, that was quick. I thought I actually had to see all the costumes to get that. Okay, so this stream we're gonna be playing with the alternate costumes for Naruhodo, Susato, and Sholmes. They essentially switch cultures. Sholmes gets a Japanese outfit, while Susato and Naruhodo get Western outfits. Anyway, person died in a teleporter accident. Person was the head of a mafia. Wax museum. Something about a wax thing being taken for ransom. Probably ties into the case somehow. Who knows? 23rd October, 8:52 a.m., the Old Bailey Defendant's Antechamber. Can't believe it's been 6 months since I was last allowed to work in court. And now here I am, back at the Old Bailey.
Mr. Naruhodo.
Good morning. Good morning, Professor Hairbrain.
I don't understand. It doesn't make any sense. The atmospheric pressure in here is off the charts. I've never felt anything like it. It's crushing me.
I feel it every time I'm here. That gravity. My voice is a little shot right now. Sorry if I don't sound optimal tonight. Yes, this guy.
Well, this is Britain's highest court.
But are you telling me it's fitted with some kind of device that can actually control air pressure? I think it's probably all in the mind.
Yes, well, you won't let me down, will you, Mr. Naruhodo? I'm counting on you in today's trial to save my life. To save the secret of my super high voltage instantaneous kinesis machine from being made public.
Yes, I understand. I know what I have to do. I have to establish that the explosion 2 days ago was nothing more than an unfortunate accident.
Well, I'm sure there's nothing to worry about, really. Justice will prevail.
My commiserations, Mr. Naruhodo. You appear to have been lumbered with the most tiresome case here. Oh, there he is. Yeah, that's his outfit. Mr. Sholmes, I didn't expect to see you here. What is that thing you're wearing? That was very mean, Runo, leaving me alone at home with Hurley. It took me at least an hour to wake him.
Is it? Are you? Sherlock Sholmes? Is Gamma playing Lego Star Wars? Oh my god.
Indeed, sir, I am he, Sherlock Sholmes.
Oh, I've heard all about your exploits, even whilst living in Germany.
Ah, yes, Ranch Magazine is on sale in Germany, too. What about Ranch Magazine? I would love to get some ranch and celery, that'd be nice.
This month's installment was sublime. Your deduction in the adventure of the Silver Blaze was wonderful.
Ah, yes, a memorable case indeed. It concerned a snake, I seem to recall. No, that was the Speckled Band. Well, thank you for coming. I do appreciate your support. I'm sorry to disappoint you, my dear fellow, but I'm afraid I can't stay. Oh, I just noticed his pipe is different, too. Oh. I have urgent business at Madame Two Spells. You mean your waxwork job? No, the waxwork abduction, of course. Madame has engaged my services. Ah, so you're trying to get to the bottom of that ransom note, are you? The week's wages depend on it, as does the safe return of the waxwork, naturally. As such, I intend to give it my undivided attention. Oh, well, never mind then. I understand. Of course, with my skills of observation and reasoning, resolving the matter will be as easy as proverbial pie. I shall return forthwith. For until I solve the case, I shall have no money to afford a pie of any description. Oh, then you must absolutely give it your full attention, Hurley. Quite, Iris, quite, but life is riddled with irony, you know? Whenever I give something my full attention, I have quite an insatiable desire for a pie. One of the universe's intractable mysteries, you might say.
Oh, yes, quite definitely. Absolutely, I totally understand.
Is someone a little starstruck?
I wish you the very best of luck, Professor Hairbrain. Why? Thank you. Before I depart, Mr. Naruhodo, a word in your ear, if you please.
What's this about?
As you have remarkably little grounding in science, I feel I ought to inform you. As compelling as the super high-voltage instantaneous kinesis hypothesis may be, a practical implementation, such as was attempted by the professor at the Great Exhibition, is quite impossible.
But the professor said the demonstration was a success.
Yes, it would appear that he fervently believes it was.
I've read Professor Bunnybrain's paper about it too, Bruno, and I have to say, I'm sure it can't be done. It could barely be done theoretically, let alone practically. So he's completely barking up the wrong tree? But how can an experiment that had no possibility of succeeding in fact succeed? That's contradictory.
And it's that contradiction that will be at the heart of this trial, I've no doubt.
What's that supposed to mean?
Now I must hurry along. I wish you the best of luck, my dear fellow.
See you later, Hurley. Well, it looks like you're on your own today, Bruno. But chin up. You could do it. Oh, what about you, Iris? No, I'm afraid I can't help. I have something I need to do. I see. It's going to be a big surprise for you when you find out what it is. That sounds ominous.
Counsel for the defense and the defendant. Court is about to be in session. Make your way into the courtroom at once.
We're on our way. Experiment that the laws of science say can't possibly succeed. And a scientist who's convinced it did. That's the riddle you have to unlock here, Ryunosuke. That's the key to this case.
Yeah. Oh, yes. 23rd October, 9:10 a.m. The Old Bailey courtroom. Oh.
Oh, Naruhodo, you look strapping. In the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I hereby declare this court to be in session. We are sitting today for the public trial of Professor Albert Hairbrain. I now call upon the counsels for the prosecution and defense to declare their willingness to proceed. The prosecution is ready. The defense is ready, my lord. That is a cool costume, I like that. I'm 6 months out of practice. And what's more... How do you know what she looks like in that costume, Ryunosuke? I'm without Sasato-san today. Is it just my imagination? Or does the air in here feel even more oppressive than usual? So, you've changed your clothes for the first time ever. I must say I recollect the victim of this case all too well, Mr. Odie Asman. Mr. Asman was well known as a financier, though that was merely a front for his diverse criminal activities. It was only a month ago that the man appeared in our court prosecuted by you, Lord Van Zeeks. But the jury unanimously found him not guilty. Because every member of the jury had been bribed by the sound of it. These powerful London criminals are prepared to go to extreme lengths to keep their freedom. But 2 days ago, on 21st October, Mr. Asman met his end. The work of the Reaper, was it? If that is how your lordship would describe it, divine retribution. But the fact remains that Mr. Asman's death was a direct result of the actions of the accused, Professor Hairbrain. Very well, then. Now, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you have been selected at random to represent the will of the people. Are the 6 of you ready to fulfill your societal duty? I'm most gratified to have been selected to carry out this important civic duty, my lord. Oh, these are all new characters. To have a man's fate in the palm of one's hand. Oh gosh, oh golly. It sends shivers down my spine. Science experiments, magic, conjuring, tricks, courtroom trials, are nothing more than performances.
Any spurious scholar that defiles the reputation of science deserves to hang.
We have to listen to what's said on both sides of the fence and then settle on one. That's it, isn't it? She's chewing that corn. Oh, it's the sleeping dude from yesterday.
Wasn't like this in my day. Wasn't like this at all.
That's the police killer Ottermole lookalike. Again. And he's exhausted as ever, it seems. Now, as I'm sure you're all aware, the incident we are here to judge today tragically took place at the Great Exhibition, shortly after its opening. Though the death toll could have been far worse. With the exception of the victim, no one was killed. Nevertheless, the dream of the science being exhibited rapidly turned into a nightmare for the spectators. A tragic turn of events, and as such, the eyes of all of London, no, of the whole world will be on this trial. It is our duty to reach a swift and just conclusion, I feel. So, your opening statement, please, Lord Van Zeeks. At the heart of this incident is technology never before demonstrated anywhere in the world. One of science's latest developments, I take it. The government is keen to capitalize on Great Britain to improvise Britain's... the government is keen to capitalize on the Great Exhibition to improve Britain's technological advantage. The technology being demonstrated by the accused was described as super high voltage, instantaneous kinesis. Good lord! It's designed to disassemble human subjects using extremely high voltage electricity and beam them instantly to another location where they're subsequently reassembled. Is such a thing even within the realms of possibility?
Well, I don't believe it, that's for sure.
Disassembling people with electricity? My goodness, how shocking!
The whole idea is absurd. The hypothesis would never stand up to scrutiny.
Sir, I believe you are a fellow of the Royal Society, are you not? An expert in your field?
I am, and my word on the matter can be considered final. Instantaneous kinesis is poppycock.
So this expert and Mr. Sholmes are in agreement. It's impossible. What is the prosecution's view on the matter?
The prosecution would assert that the accused's instantaneous kinesis demonstration was a success.
What?
What rot!
Order! Order!
The professor's hypothesis is currently under investigation by British government. If it is deemed... Excuse me. If it is deemed to have merit, a substantial research grant would be made available. The accused made use of the invention built on his new hypothesis to take Mr. Asmund's life, in order to be the sole benefactor of the grant.
But...
This disastrous demonstration was no accident. It was carefully designed from the outset to end the life of the victim.
Thank you, Lord Van Zeeks. The prosecution's stance is clear. But you will now bring forth witnesses to substantiate your claims.
Gladly, my lord. Bailiff, show the first witnesses to the stand. Witnesses, state your names and occupations for the court.
Yes, sir. Tobias Gregson, Detective Inspector at Scotland Yard's Homicide Division. I was on duty at the demonstration on the day in question and in charge of following the investigation. Of the following investigation.
Albert Harebrained, this is a scientist.
You were born in England but have been carrying out research in Germany in recent years, correct?
Yes, that's right. After graduating from university here in Britain, I went to work in Germany and made an amazing discovery. Which is what brought me back. I had to demonstrate my incredible hypothesis at the Great Exhibition.
What you demonstrated was incredible, alright. An incredible explosion.
But the science was a success. The instantaneous kinesis worked. Everyone saw it. They must have done. Yes, there was a terrible accident, but the demonstration of my hypothesis was a success.
Well, that much is undeniable, as shown in this photograph taken by the forensic investigation team. This was taken inside the Crystal Tower, I take it? The centerpiece of the exhibition, no less. That's right, my lord. Seems the victim rammed straight into it. I see. Very well. Submit the photograph as evidence. Photographic print of the victim taken after he had ostensibly been beamed to the Crystal Tower. It shows an apparent stab wound to the chest. As the courts heard, the victim of the incident was Mr. Odie Asman. There have been a number of allegations made against the man, but putting them aside for the time being, he was the man who financed the research for the experiment and the demonstration itself. Ugh. I see. So to summarize the situation, the defendant is accused of taking the life of the man who funded his work. Would that be correct? Exactly. But couldn't it be that the explosion was caused by some malfunction in the apparatus used for the demonstration? That's right, that must be it! My splendid machine! My poor splendid machine! You saw it yesterday, didn't you? Can't even examine the wreckage thanks to the Special Dispensation for Scientific Equipment Act. Oh my god, that's a mouthful. What? The wreckage? The wreckage? But that being the case, how can the facts be established? How can it possibly be determined whether this was an accident or a deliberate and malicious act? Extremely simply, my lord. I beg your pardon? Isn't that right, witness?
What? Sorry? Me?
No, your neighbor. Yes, sir. It was murder, plain and simple. Anyone could state that with complete certainty.
What? How could he possibly think that?
Thank you, Inspector. I think we had better proceed to the formal testimony. You will explain to the court on what grounds you claim this experiment to have been a front for murder. The corpse that went crashing into the Crystal Tower had a broken neck.
I made a minor miscalculation in the angle of the beam projection. That's all. That was my mistake.
But the post-mortem examination revealed another injury, a fatal wound. There was a lesion in his chest where he'd clearly been stabbed by something sharp, right in the heart. So the victim was killed before he went anywhere, and this fellow's the only one who could have done it. An extraordinary business. In addition to suffering a broken neck, the victim was stabbed in the heart? Information I would really like to have heard from someone other than the judge. Coroner says death would have been all but instant from a wound like that. You could say, in fact, that the victim was killed twice by the accused.
No, and no, that couldn't be further from the truth.
I have here the experiment plan document that was submitted to the security team. This shadow man here was going to be beamed over to the platform over there. Sorry. The victim stood himself inside something called the bird cage. Oh, the victim stood inside himself. Oh, my God. Okay. It's been a long day. Season premiere of Better Call Saul was today, and it was very, very good. I will obviously not say anything in case anyone's watching this and hasn't seen it. But oh boy, this last season is going to be a humdinger. The victim stood himself inside something called the bird cage, ready to be beamed instantly. To the second level of the Crystal Tower, about 25 yards away. 75 feet, okay. The experiment did not go according to plan, however. As the machine was put into operation, there was a large explosion. The blast caused the beam transmitter to point higher than intended. Accordingly, the kinesis resulted in the birdcage materializing in midair, from where it subsequently fell, crashing through the glass of the Crystal Tower's large round window. Oh, my word! One assumes the victim's neck was broken upon impact with the tower, then. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean for this to happen. The machine was just too powerful. But honestly, really, I swear, it was just an accident. A terrible accident. Unfortunately, that excuse can't save you. No, not considering the sharp murder weapon that pierced the victim's heart. Murder weapon? What are you saying? This is the autopsy report submitted by the coroner. The prosecution would like it entered into the court record. Your request is granted, counsel. Autopsy report of the victim, Mr. Asman. His neck was broken from the impact of a violent fall and he was stabbed in the chest with a sharp object. I was there in person, you know. I saw the whole ludicrous performance. And the only other person on the stage with Mr. Asman was that disgraceful excuse for a scientist. And really, by all accounts, it must have been him. What did they think otherwise, really? Very well, counsel for the defense. Proceed with the cross-examination, please. Oh, yes, my lord. I need to focus here. It's been a while. I notice he still has the sword. Also, he has a little plushie on his shoulder. Okay. There's a streak of blood over here. Crystals. Broken neck. Victim, Odie Asman, male, 47, British. Time of death around 2:20 p.m., 21st of October. Coroner, Courtney Seath. Courtney Seath. I wonder if that's going to matter at all later. Cause of death, hemorrhage of a wound to the chest that pierced the heart inflicted by a sharp implement. Additional observations, a broken vertebra, most likely resulting from impact after a sudden fall from considerable height. Okay, so nothing we didn't know yet. Minor miscalculation in the angle of the beam projection, that's all. It was my mistake. But the post-mortem examination revealed another injury, a fatal wound. There was a lesion in his chest where he'd clearly been stabbed by something sharp right in the heart. So the victim was killed right before he went anywhere. And that's the only one who could have done it.
Objection!
Oh, that was not right. Surely something about that last statement seems odd, doesn't it? Would you care to mull over precisely what you find odd about it on your return journey to Japan? I wouldn't be back in the court to give an answer for about 4 months, though. Rest assured, we should be happy to carry proceedings forward in your absence, counsel. He sounds serious. I have to prove my worth before he really does send me back home. What were you pulling up right there?
Hold it!
What grounds do you have for saying that? Do you really need to ask? There are only 2 people on that public experimentation stage in front of the whole crowd. The victim, Mr. Odie Asman, and the accused, Professor Hairbrain. And we know for certain that before the experiment, the victim was alive. That's right, I saw him with my own eyes. Furthermore, following the explosion in Kinesis, nobody went anywhere near the body. In other words, only someone else on stage with the victim could have possibly done it. And Albert Hairbrain is the only bloke who fits the bill. Unless you got some other bright idea, Sunshine, in which case, let's hear it.
My learned friend's silence is your answer, Inspector. Ugh, can't a man have a moment to think? So that's all the testimony I have to work with. I had no idea the victim had been stabbed. That changes everything. Did Van Zeeks keep that to himself until now on purpose, to gain the advantage? Oh well, I suppose all I can do is press these witnesses for as much new information as possible. Okay, so I have to press something.
Hold it!
Are you suggesting that's because he fell from a considerable height? Exactly, which highlights something else about this whole rum business. What's that? The fact that the instantaneous kinesis itself was a success. After the explosion, the cage with the fella inside suddenly appeared out of nowhere in midair. So although the experiment ended in a disaster, the so-called instantaneous kinesis actually did occur. Remind us, Professor, what was the cause of the fatal disaster?
Hold it!
Hold it. So the angle of the projection is critical, is it? And you calculated it yourself? Personally? Yeah, absolutely. The calculation is far too complicated for anybody but me to carry out. Only you got it wrong, didn't you? Yes, that's right. That's the point. The calculation is so complicated, even I can make a mistake. Do people fall for that brazen confidence? I should try it. I took into account the subject's height and weight and the wind direction, the ambient atmosphere, temperature. I considered every possible variable, so I just don't understand how this could have happened. Look at that plushie on his shoulder. Obviously, then, you had to include the weight of the clothes Mr. Asman was wearing at the time, I suppose. It's cute. Crackling comets! The answer should have been 3! So much for safety first. The 3 must be for safety third.
Hold it!
Another fatal injury, you say? That doesn't make any sense. I didn't think I'd have to spell this out, but here we go. Just because there were 2 fatal wounds doesn't mean I'm saying the victim had 2 lives to lose, does it? 2 right. Obviously, at first we thought the bloke had died due to his spine snapping in half as well. But you're saying that's not the case? You'll get your answer once I finish my fish and chips, if you don't keep butting in every few seconds. We all know that's a bottomless bag. The victim plummeted 30 feet into a glass tower. Would be reasonable enough to assume that that's the cause of death. Right. That's what we all thought. But it was a red herring, wasn't it?
Hold it!
The defense knew nothing of this crucial information. The prosecution received this report from the forensic investigation team only this morning. That was the first we knew of it as well. I can only apologize for the impossibility of informing the defense. Sarcastic and insincere? Thanks. So what was the nature of this sharp object? Among the accused tools that were used at this demonstration, one is of particular interest. This. Ah, yes, that would appear to be some kind of screwdriver, wouldn't it? Counts... Ah! There he is! My trusty little companion, Andrew! Andrew, of course. Do you know each other already? He's one of my dear friends, like all my tools. Gregson is not amused. I've named them all, you know. We're one big happy family. Andrew is my flathead screwdriver, of course. His brother Michael is a crosshead. Well, it would appear that your beloved Andrew has a red stain on his shank. That isn't... It's blood, beyond all reasonable doubt. No! And that's not all. The long, sharp shape of this Andrew fella is completely consistent with the victim's wound. What? Order? Order!
court will enter this friend of the defendant as evidence. Professor Harebrain's trusty screwdriver that he's named Andrew. There are traces of blood at the tip and that matches the shape of the victim's wound. So one of Professor Harebrain's tools was the murder weapon. Great. I've seen this unusually shaped handle before. It's the same screwdriver that was lodged in the grill on the floor of the kinesis machine, which could be important information, so I should definitely make a note of it. Another screwdriver that was found poking through the grill in the base of what remains in the kinesis machine. This is blood. Mr. Asmon's, no doubt. This is the problem with looking at murder weapons. Boo! Okay.
Great Scott!
In other words, only... Okay, so now we got a reaction here.
Excuse me!
Professor Harebrain, do you have some information that may be relevant here? Professor! Sorry. I was just calculating the optimum coefficient of electrolysis to separate molecules of the human body. And the witness stand is the best place for that? It seemed as though you might have something to say about Inspector Gregson's last remark. Yes, that's right, of course. He just said that nobody else could have done it, didn't he? Yeah, that's right. Who else would have stabbed the victim, eh? I don't know, but... There's no way that I could possibly have stabbed Mr. Asmon, as you say. Eh? Explain, please, Professor. Of course, this cold-hearted policeman may not be aware, I suppose. But humans are warm-blooded mammals with blood running continuously through their veins. I had heard. Then surely you see... If I'd plunged something the size of Andrew into the man's chest, the whole stage would have been a bloodbath. No, a blood swimming pool. But thousands of Londoners were watching me at the time. And yet not one of them claims to have seen a swimming pool of blood. Well, no, I suppose not. You see, not one. True, I didn't see anything like that. Well done, Professor. That was a great counter-argument. Order! Alright. We're getting there. Pray forgive the discourtesy if I savor a drop from my hallowed chalice to accompany my old friend's adducing. Here's to you, Albert. Oh, you're too kind, Barrick, but I'm really not a patch on you. No, you're not. No? You've neglected to mention one crucial possibility. I have. A particular situation in which very little bleeding would result from a stab wound. Of course. Inspector, enlighten the court, please. Yes, sir. Where are they going with this? Very well, you will amend your formal testimony now, Inspector Gregson. The weapon the victim was stabbed with must have been left in his body whilst he was beamed through the air. Nope. It was found in the grill, with an E at the end.
Objection!
You say that while the weapon remains in the body, there's a very little bleeding. There's a very little bleeding. Is that unequivocal? Is that unequivocal? Look, there was no blood in the experimentation stage, even though that's where the fellow was stabbed. The only explanation for that is if the screwdriver was still in his body, stopping any heavy bleeding. It's a common medical knowledge, my learned friend, even on your side of the world. Yes, but what about the screwdriver? The thing is, we actually saw it at the scene ourselves, on the experimentation stage. What? It was on the floor by the wreckage of the machine, poking through a metal grill. I went to pick it up, but the detective here stopped me. Isn't that right, Inspector Gregson? Now you come to mention it, yes. Inspector, are we to understand that you permitted the defense counsel to investigate? That you contravened the Special Dispensation for Scientific Equipment Act? No, not at all. I wouldn't do that. I just let him look, nothing more. I was very clear he wasn't to touch a thing. Yes, that's true. The screwdriver was in plain sight on the stage. But it shouldn't have been, should it? What are you getting at? If this tool had still been in the victim's body when the victim was beamed away by the machine, then it shouldn't have still been on the stage. That's right. It should have been beamed across to the Crystal Tower, along with Mr. Asman, and been found still lodged in the victim's chest. Order. How do you explain this, Inspector? I don't... Looks as though everything that the victim had on his person moved with him when he was beamed. If the screwdriver was still in his chest when the instantaneous kinesis occurred, obviously that should have been beamed to the destination as well. This is a strange situation. Even though people are saying that this instantaneous kinesis is a scientific impossibility, we're still basing arguments on the assumption that it did actually take place. Alright, time to tighten the screws here. My lord, if the prosecution is unable to explain this inconsistency in its argument, we can only conclude that the testimony given in support cannot be relied upon. Lord Van Zeeks is stumped. Oh, that was a screech. You have something to say, witness?
Yes, I knew it. It bears out. The equations hold. Mr. Naruhodo, don't worry!
About what?
Without delving into the details, there is no inconsistency.
What? Is he hurting his own case? Please don't do that.
Even if Andrew had been lodged in Mr. Asman's chest, my trusty tool wouldn't have moved. Andrew remaining on the stage is consistent with my calculations.
What?
It would seem your illusions have been shattered. Clearly, we should hear the accused's explanation. Or should I say, this brilliant scientist's explanation. Just when I'd found an inconsistency in the prosecution's argument. Scientists.
Very well, the defendant will testify again. Provide us with a scientific explanation as to why the inconsistency asserted by the defense fails to hold.
In the name of Apollo, I will, my lord.
Apollo? He's not going to be born for another 110 years.
The inconsistency explained. To be clear, I'm still at the stage of gathering my data in my... I'm still at the stage...
I accidentally muted myself. I am batting 1,000 today. Holy shit.
To be clear, I'm still at the stage of gathering data in my research. My hypothesis states that the kinesis cannot transport metal, though, hence the metal weapon would have stayed put. In other words, the point just raised by Mr. Naruhodo isn't an inconsistency at all. Mr. Asman was the patron of my research. Without him, my work wouldn't have been possible. Hey, SkyJ, how you doing? Yeah, it happens. Shit happens. It happens. Now I have a duty to protect this incredible machine that we built together. So, the thrust of your testimony, Professor, is that based upon his hypothesis, metal objects cannot be moved by this method of instantaneous kinesis. In other words, since the screwdriver is made of metal, even if it remained lodged in the victim's chest, its subsequent discovery on the stage, despite the victim being found elsewhere, is not an inconsistency. And therefore, Professor Albert Harebrain could still be the killer. My great hypothesis holds, you see. We had to make the cage used to contain the subject from wood for that very reason. I was not addressing you, witness. Professor Harebrain. Yes? Whose side are you on here? I don't take sides, Mr. Naruhodo. No. My only interest lies in upholding my hypothesis. I'm a scientist, after all. Is he working for us or against us? It's very hard to tell. Let's see how you cross-examine this testimony, my Nipponese friend. Yes, fire away, Mr. Naruhodo. Naruhodo. The inconsistency explained. To be clear, I'm not reading this again. Still at the stage of gathering data for your research. My hypothesis states that kinesis cannot transport metal, though. Hence the metal weapon would have stayed put. In other words, the point just raised by Mr. Naruhodo isn't an inconsistency at all. Mr. Asman was the patron of my research. Without him, my work would have been impossible. Now I have a duty to protect the incredible machine that we built together. Yeah, that's wood. Wouldn't these be considered metal, though?
Objection!
Ah, that was right. It's probably his glasses. Professor Harebrain, you say that according to your hypothesis, nothing made of metal can be beamed by instantaneous kinesis using the machine you made. Is that right? Yes, that's right. Spot on. Exactly correct. In that case, I'd ask you to have a look at this photograph that was taken at the scene. In particular, I'd like you to pay attention to the victim's face. You can clearly see that Mr. Asman is wearing a pair of spectacles with a metal rim. What? Metal? No, metal can't. That's not... metal? No! We've already established that the proposed murder weapon, the screwdriver, was found on the stage. However, if your hypothesis correctly predicted that the outcome... it should have also predicted that the metal-rimmed spectacles would be found in the same place. Ah, my hypothesis! My hypothesis! Curse you, Ryunosuke! Professor Harebrain, this isn't easy for me to say, but your hypothesis is clearly flawed. Ah! We've rocked his world. Order, order, order! Counsel, what is the implication of this? Who does that sound like? I mean, it's kind of me just doing the nerd voice, the Birdly voice that I was doing during Deltarune. If on the day in question the alleged instantaneous kinesis never actually took place, then it's entirely possible that the victim was killed somewhere other than the stage. And in that case, someone other than the defendant could have been the culprit. But my hypothesis is sound! I proved it that day. The experiment was a success. The experiment was proof of all my work.
If I could say something here, in my capacity as a fellow of the Royal Society. Yes, juror number 4, go ahead. As a man of science, there's one thing I simply cannot abide. That's a fraud who pretends to be a fellow man of science.
What? Wait! Great Scott! Are you suggesting my science is suspect?
Bump, 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 bump. Sorry. It's just been disproved, hasn't it? In front of all of us. In other words, the whole demonstration was a complete nonsense from start to finish. Believe me, my fellow jurors, when I tell you that this man is a heel, a bounder, and a fraud. I say the wreckage of that machine should be stripped and down and thoroughly examined.
No, never. That machine is the essence of my entire hypothesis. It's protected by the Special Dispensation for Scientific Equipment Act.
What the devil is that blasted act all about, eh? Who made up such a daft rule? I don't like the way this seems to be going. What's the best way for me to help the professor? Ooh.
Objection!
Professor Harebrain is yet to perfect his invention. That would seem to be the case, yes. But even so what? Going to such trouble and expense to create a fake machine to display in public. He would have absolutely no reason to do such a thing.
Objection!
He had an obvious reason to do exactly that. For the research grant money. Ah! The government was foolish enough to have deemed this man's ridiculous notion plausible. He and his conspirators would have received a handsome sum indeed.
Conspirators?
What would be the value of such a grant? 10 pounds? You're an order of magnitude out, madam. 500 pounds a year.
Oh, you could live him handsome on that much for years.
The Society's noticed an increase in bogus public demonstrations in the field of science recently. There are plenty of scientists arguing with each other to get the largest slice of the funding cake. People's greed is plenty motive enough for murder, I assure you.
No, I haven't deceived anyone, least of all the government. My hypothesis is sound. The science is sound. Please, you must believe me.
Objection!
No matter how unbelievable this hypothesis may seem to you, ladies and gentlemen, the fact remains that the victim was transported instantaneously to the Crystal Tower. Which means that the experiment was a success.
Barrack.
And therefore, the only person who could possibly have committed this murder is the accused.
Barrack.
Where is this heading? I have no idea. My lord, if I may. Yes, Lord Van Zeeks. The prosecution would like to summon new witnesses to the stand. New witnesses? What would be the nature of their involvement? They were spectators of the demonstration at the exhibition, who were occupying special seats. Eyewitnesses? Very well, the court grants the prosecution's request. I should very much like to hear from the eyewitnesses to the incident. The prosecution's stance is clear. This experiment was no pastiche. The accused killed the financier victim there, on the public stage, before the very eyes of the spectators. Now, my learned friend... Oh, yeah? It's time for you to make your own stance clear. There's clearly a flaw in the professor's hypothesis. I can definitely see that. But where does that leave me? We shall take a short recess now, during which time the prosecution will prepare its new witnesses to take the stand. As you wish, my lord. Good. In that case, court is adjourned for 20 minutes. Wow, that segment was less than an hour. The first segment was 3 hours long. That was less than 52 minutes. 50, because I started with... I like, talked for like 3 minutes. October, 10:44 a.m.
Mr. Naruhodo, what on earth were you playing at just now? Or rather, what on earth were you playing at it all along? My hypothesis, my amazing hypothesis, you've been picking holes in it from the start.
Sorry about that.
But you promised me. You said you'd prove that the dreaded explosion was an accident, not murder. You said you'd keep my precious invention from falling into anyone else's hands. But all you've done so far is try to undermine me.
Yes, I did make you a promise, you're right. I said that I believe in you and fight for your freedom to the very end. But I also told you I was no scientist. I don't understand your hypothesis. The fact is, there's an undeniable flaw in your logic, isn't there?
But if I just run through some equations... Yes, you see, it's because my work is incomplete.
Perhaps it is. Nevertheless, a man died as a consequence, didn't he?
Oh no! You're right. You're so right. It's all my fault. And I have no right to blame you for my failures. I'm a disaster, not just as a scientist, but as a human being.
Well, that might be a little over the top.
And while we're on the subject, what about Barrack? He's being awful.
Claiming his old university friend to be a murderer, you mean?
He's a disaster, not just as a prosecutor, but as a human being. Oh, but no, wait. He's the Reaper, isn't he? Perhaps he's not classified as Homo sapiens anymore.
Glad that's cleared up. Yeah, I don't know. Can I double check something with you?
Yes? What?
The machine and demonstration you prepared, they were based entirely on your hypothesis, I presume? There was no trickery involved?
I drew the plans of the machine with my very own hands. Every line was painstakingly drawn with the firm belief that science is the only future. So yes, it's true that my hypothesis hasn't reached maturity yet, but please, Mr. Naruhodo, you must believe in it.
Alright, Professor. I understand. Counsel, defendant. Prosecution's witnesses are ready to take the stand. Court is about to be in session again. Make your way to the courtroom, please. It all hinges on that demonstration. If the professor's hypothesis is sound as he claims, it leaves him as the only person who could have possibly have killed the victim. But on the other hand, Mr. Sholmes was adamant. So really, what should I be trying to prove here? Excuse me. 23rd October, 11 a.m., the Old Bailey. Courtroom. In the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I hereby reconvene the proceedings of this court. Counsels for the defense and prosecution, are you ready for the new witnesses to testify? The prosecution is ready, my lord. As is the defense, my lord. So, Lord Van Zeeks, I believe these next witnesses saw the demonstration on the day in question with their own eyes. Indeed, they did. And as luck would have it, one of them is a police detective. So the testimony we're about to hear can be considered highly reliable. Perfect, a detective of all people. A detective of all people. We know who that is going to be. We know who it's going to be. The prosecution's stance remains unchanged. Though it ended in tragedy, the demonstration on the day in question was scientifically sound. And consequently, the sole person with the opportunity to have committed this act of murder is the only other individual to have been present on the stage at the time, the accused. Thank you, counsel. The prosecution's position is clear. So bring forth your witnesses now. Bailiff, show the witnesses in. The witnesses whose proximity to the incident on the day in question will clarify the truth unequivocally. Yeah, I knew it. Who are these other two people, though? Witnesses, state your names and occupations for the court to hear. 1 second. Hold it! Hold it! What the fuck? When was I? When did I mute myself? How long have I been muted? God damn it. I gotta pay more attention here. I'm sorry, I'm like a little out of it tonight. I'm like kind of tired, honestly. I don't know how long I was muted there. I just looked and I saw it wasn't like picking up my voice a while back. Okay. All right, no matter. I mean, you saw the dialogue anyway. It's not like you missed anything. The only thing I was about to say, yo, Ryunosuke got that drip, yeah. Hey, Yashi. Alright, yeah. Don't worry about it. You saw the dialogue. I didn't veer off course at any point. Yeah, I don't know when that happened. I think I must have hit spacebar by mistake. I really gotta be careful. You are fine? Yeah, I'm okay. I'm a little tired, but I'm gonna move my keyboard back a bit more so I don't hit it as easily. Speaking of, actually, I don't know what I don't remember what my segue was gonna be here now, but I guess since nothing's going, it's past several minutes. Really? Fuck. All right. Cool. At least it wasn't like Vinny doing the 20 minutes of Warble voice during Skyward Sword. That was a time and a half. The playdates started shipping today, so I didn't get notice of mine shipping yet, but I will absolutely be unboxing that on stream. Maybe, I don't know. I might unbox it on my. I might do a separate video of it, just because my webcam is not good for like recording unboxings and stuff. So I might just use my phone to do it and then upload that to YouTube. We'll see. So we're trying to figure out what we saw at the time of the explosion. No, in reality I did not. I saw it after it hit the tower. I don't know what voice to do for this guy. I'm like lost. There was a grand confusion around the stage. I ran to see what had happened. I was terrorized by the idea that one of my balloons had crashed. I suppose they are his livelihood. But when I looked up to the sky, all my precious balloons were still there. I saw it, though. I saw it slam into the tower. After all, I am a detective now. Then tell us what you saw, Inspector Lestrade. That's what I like to hear. Hold it! Was it you who gave the order to keep people away? Eh? Use your head, Odo? How could it have been me? I was up in a balloon, weren't I? Right. So, because I weren't available, it was the boss who had to go leg it over there. It was getting shoved and kicked all over by the panicking spectators as he tried to seal off the scene. It was a right sight to behold, I can tell you. Amazing. Poor Inspector Gregson. So anyway, I started blasting. So anyway, I couldn't see the cage that well because of all the smoke. And I didn't really want to see, to be honest. I was scared out me wits. Keep it together, Inspector. Prosecution, okay.
Hold it!
There were 3 balloons flying above the experimentation stage at the time, I understand. Si. All 3 of them, my bellissimi bambino. Oh, he's Italian. My bellissimi bambini. They're very popular, signor. Some people will pay 10 pounds for one ride. 10 pounds? That's more than my annual stipend. 20 pounds a month. That is my pocket money. Where else have all the luck? I got up there for free, I did. Played the old I work for Her Majesty's police card, you know? Detectives have all the luck. If they're so popular, why would you only be operating such a small number of balloons, though? Because if I have too many in disguise, they could crash into each other. The operators for the balloons were decided by lots, with each operator manning a particular area. See, and the zone above the public experimentation stage is most profitable. The other impresarios, they hate me. Thank you, witness. I think the court has a clear picture of the arrangements for balloon rides at the exhibition. Perhaps we could hear more about what you actually witnessed of the incident. Right, I could fill you in there, my lord.
Hold it!
So you actually saw the incident. You actually saw the accident happen from up in the air. Yo, isn't it amazing what a detective gets to do, eh? I'm telling you, Odo, being a lawyer's mug game. You should join the force and we could go flying together. You know me so well. Yes, well, anyway, could you tell us exactly what you saw, do you think? Everything. We saw everything, because we were up above it all. That dodgy cove climbing into that cage, and that dodgy professor pulling all them levers. And that's when it happened. That's when there was that massive bang and the cage disappeared, just like that. You are describing the moment the subject's body was decomposed by the electricity, I believe. I didn't know what to make of it. But then there was another bang, right in the air. I looked around and there was a huge great fireball right next to us in the sky. And there was nothing before.
Excuse me!
Master Gott, does your memory of the day differ? My teacher at elementary school says that when you meet someone for the first time, you should always use their first name, their full name. Ah, yes, what was it again? Wilhelm Gottfried Sigismund Ormstein. Just the 4 names, then? The point is, do you have something to say? Something to add in response to Detective Gina Lestrade's last remark, perhaps? Oh, I get it right, Odo. It's Inspector Lestrade. Why does everyone have a problem with how I address them at the moment? That is not what I saw. Oh? Ja, there was a second explosion and it was right beside our balloon. That is true. But I'm sure... Which is what I said, innit? One minute there was nothing there and the next a massive explosion. My teacher at elementary school said that when someone else is speaking, if you are rude enough to interrupt, you will have the most awful life imaginable. Are all Bohemians brought up to be so full of joy? Money. Just before the second explosion happened next to our balloon, I clearly witnessed a green balloon flying in the sky. A green balloon? Eh? You what? I never saw nothing like that.
Well, I did. I saw it. And you can't say I didn't. I will complain to the council. I will cry and scream. My testimony is the truth. I'm a Bohemian prince. You cannot say it is a lie. That is not allowed. Playing the bleeding royalty clod, are you? Typical. This is the orphan who likes to remind people she works for Her Majesty's police. In that case, young man, I must ask you to amend your formal testimony. In the interest of cordial national relations between Great Britain and Bohemia. It was not in the sky that exploded, it was a green balloon that was next to us at the time. The green balloon, this green piece of cloth.
Objection!
Oh, fuck, I made a mistake. Oh, I got my heart back. That last statement would seem to be at odds with the evidence. It is your task, counsel, to explain the somehows to the court, not the other way around. It just seemed to jar, though, don't you think? What I think is that this whole exchange has been extremely jarring, yes. Perhaps I need to reconsider this.
Hold it!
A green balloon, you say? Are you sure about that? Of course I am sure. I am proud Bohemian prince. All these questions are making me boring. I think you mean bored. Ah, English is very annoying. The language of my countrymen is far superior. Ragazzo, it is very wrong to lie. Lie? Flying balloons never explode, for the same reason that planets never explode. It is logico. Please tell me that doesn't mean logical. You insult me, you insult all of Bohemia. Madai. I will have the army come and shoot all of your stupid balloons out of the sky. All of them. Here you are, your highness. Only all international incidents were so easily resolved. Now that peaceful relations have been restored here in the courtroom, perhaps we could return to the testimony? And that's how wars are started, well, at least for a reason, yeah. Did you also see the moment the cage materialized, Mr. Loon? No, I did not see the explosion myself. However... It was a green balloon that was next to ours at the time. Still not enough info. Dang, for a baron of what's not even a unified Germany at the time, he sure is ready to attack northern Italy under Austrian control, yeah.
Hold it!
He amended his testimony. There's gotta be something here. Yeah, that green cloth thing, but I tried presenting it. It didn't work. I pressed everything, didn't I? Oh, wait, I think I know what it might be. Hold on. Oh, wait, no, I can't, because he changed the statement.
Hold it! Objection!
There we go. I had to get that information before I could present that. Mr. Loon, in your testimony, you said that all 3 of the balloons you had operating at the time were undamaged. See, that is correct. If they had been caught in the explosions, it would have been terrible.
I wonder if you might know what this is.
Ah, I think it may be. See, part of a balloon, a burnt piece of the
Wow, my accent's going all over the place, and I call myself an Italian.
See, part of a balloon, a burnt piece of the fabric of the envelope.
Sorry, the envelope?
Pardon, that is a large round part of the balloon which becomes filled with hot air. It is made from very thick fabric lined with rubber. You do not want it to rip when you are in the sky.
Just as I thought. This piece of cloth was found near the experimentation stage. In other words, as Master Gott testified, a green balloon did indeed explode on that day.
Eh? Mamma mia!
If all the balloons in the sky above the experimentation stage belong to you, Mr. Loon, then your statement that they were all undamaged clearly contradicts the evidence.
No! My balloons!
The balloon exploded that day. Why didn't the man say so?
Maybe everyone on board was killed.
Oh no, having to spend 10 whole pounds of experience? How awful.
Seems to me like those things crash 50% of the time anyway.
The instantaneous kinesis did occur, but after the explosion on stage, the point of materialization shifted to a location occupied by a balloon. Causing the balloon to explode? Yes, eminently plausible. An unfortunate traffic accident, as it were, but it changes nothing about the pertinent facts.
This I cannot accept.
Whoa. Why not, Mr. Loon?
You are suggesting that I am a liar? The person's died in a balloon. That person's died in a balloon incident.
There's no need to get fired up, Mr. Loon. The victim was the sole fatality that day.
That's right, and I will prove it. Balthazar Loon is not a liar. There was no such balloon in the sky. It is not possible.
You're saying it's impossible? Why? This court has more important matters to discuss than the number of balloons that were operating that day.
Aye!
Objection!
But we can't ignore the fact that nobody appears to have known anything about this other balloon until now. My lord, the defense calls for further testimony from Mr. Loon. I concur. There's clearly more to the truth here than meets the eye. It's imperative that we clear up this issue of this phantom balloon, I feel. Witnesses? Or witness who will give supplementary testimony about the balloons you were operating at the exhibit.
Ah, grazie, my lord.
Mr. Loon's balloons.
As I said, Balthazar Loon is no liar. Every balloon I had in the sky landed safely. All 3 of my balloons were carrying passengers. If they fell to ground if they fell to a if they fell to the ground in an explosion, what a catastrophe!
But you can't get away from the fact that a burnt-up bit of cloth was found at the scene, can you? The coppers at the yard reckon it was probably some debris thrown from the explosion on the stage.
Stupid ragazzo was mistaken. My balloons have the red and blue zigzag stripes anyway.
So your assertion is that the balloon this child saw was not one belonging to you?
Si, exactamente. If he even saw a balloon in the first place. I do not like the sound of it. It is very bad for business. I have a good mind to sue the land of Bohemia. If you attack us, we must fight back. It will be war, all out war.
Oh no! Don't say that, kid. Oh no! Oh! Oh no! Oh no! Oh no! Anyone else hungry all of a sudden? What happened to all-out war? Mr. Mr. Loon certainly doesn't appear to be lying. But that doesn't change the fact that the testimony and evidence are contradictory here. If the defense is unable to find the fault with the viewer witnesses... I'm sorry. Oh man, this game is it's circling the drain of really weird topics, just in passing by weird pronunciations. If the defense is unable to find fault with the witnesses' statements, the court must consider them the truth. Think long and hard on that, my learned friend. Principality of Babyville was thus consumed by the last remnants of the Holy Roman Empire, and a child forced to the German diet. The situation has clearly changed now. I have to get to the bottom of what happened here, no matter what it takes. Counsel, you may now cross-examine the witnesses. As I said, that is our loon is no liar, blah 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 blah. Every balloon I had landed in the scarlet. There are 4 balloons here. And I'm sure that has nothing to do with anything. Health Services, St. Bartholomew's Hospital.
Hold it!
You couldn't just have forgotten one, maybe? Signor, I might not notice if I was given 100 lentils and one was missing. But we are talking about 3 enormous balloons! Do you believe I can make a mistake about something so grand and expensive? I took the liberty of having Inspector Gregson check this gentleman's warehouse. I have the report here. It clearly says a total of 3 balloons. It appears no mistake has been made then. Surely Miss Lestrade could have sent for such a menial task. Been sent. What, me? I'll tell you what I told the boss. East End kids like me can only count up to 2. Obviously that ain't true, but the boss bought it and said he'd have to go himself in that case. It would be quite a catastrophe if they fell to the ground for any reason, I think. On that note, Mr. Loon, tell me, what is it that keeps these balloons in the sky? Are you an idiota? Sorry? That is like asking, why does a candle burn bright? It burns bright because it burns bright, and a balloon flies because it flies. What else? That must be Italian for I don't know. There are 2 types of flying balloons, hot air balloons and gas balloons. Hot air balloons work on the principle of hot air being less dense than cold air, whereas gas balloons derive their lift by using a gas that is lighter than air. See, and my balloons are filled with a magic gas, I believe. Hydrogen, lighter than air but highly explosive. Good lord! I do not permit smoking of the cigarettes on any kind of my balloons. The magic gas does not like fire. Even a small spark of static electricity could cause the entire balloon to explode. What is the matter with you, Signor? All that comes out of your mouth is explosion, explosion! Whoa! That belch came out of me there. I had to mute myself super quick. Sorry about that. As a fellow romantic language speaker, seeing certain words being said is quite entertaining. I tell you, I can only speak one language, and that's not at all. Like Pat says in later Alligator, no hablo español, no hablo inglés, not even a single hablo. I tell you, my balloons are perfectly safe. They have to be or I cannot eat. Though my balloons exploded that day, I am completely sure. But if you still say that is what happened, you must show me the proof. Alright, so Mr. Balloon had 3 balloons in the air that day. If none of them were damaged, then what was that one that exploded?
Hold it!
I was surprised to find that piece of fabric still at the scene, actually. Did you search the area surrounding the stage for clues? Nah, I'm not picking up stuff off the ground, me. Always works out way better. Diving into people's pockets instead. So much for the new career path. Mind you, the boss was on his hands and knees picking up all kinds of rubbish to the floor. Thing is, though, the cage went crashing into the Crystal Tower, didn't it? So that's where most of the investigating was going on. Even so, I would have thought someone from Scotland Yard would have gathered up at it. Even so, I would have expected someone from Scotland Yard would gather this up as evidence. Cool, listen to ya. You stumble across a bit of balloon and suddenly you're the best investigator in the world. Pardon? Well, you ain't got a badge, have ya? Like this one. I could arrest you with this if I wanted. I wouldn't put it past her. Come to think of it, there was talk of some scorching on the ground in a meeting we had about the investigation. There was considerable damage to the stage and surrounding area, wasn't there? Yeah, some of the coves were watching the experiment were caught in the blast and injured. Good job the old contraption didn't keel over, eh? I hadn't even considered that. It seems there was great panic after the incident occurred. Nevertheless, the police shouldn't have missed a torn piece of the envelope from a balloon. Inspector Gregson can expect a repercussion. Inspector Gregson can expect repercussions. Like me swiping all his fish and chips, eh? The man's sole pleasure in life. None of this matters. That scrap of a balloon envelope means nothing. Niente. It was Nient or Niente? I am Ente! This stupid ragazzo is mistaken. My balloons have the red and blue zigzag stripes anyway.
Hold it!
You mean the color is wrong? Si, senor, I do not have any green balloons in my warehouse. Yet a piece of green cloth was found at the scene, and it's unmistakably from a balloon. Well, I do not know how that can be. For the sake of argument, let's say that a green balloon did explode above the stage. Why am I reading that in neutral voice? You couldn't therefore conclude that it happened on the day in question. Why not? There have been recreational balloon fights over Hyde Park operating from before the Great Exhibition. One could have exploded on some earlier date. Unfortunate, as I'm sure you'd agree. You believe it may have been from some earlier balloon incident that predates the exhibition? Si, exactamente. As the senor says, it is not from one of my balloons. Clearly this little ragazzo from Bohemia is mistaken about what he saw.
Excuse me.
Is something wrong, Master Gott? It's Master Wilhelm Gottfried Sigismund Ormstein. It was on the tip of my tongue. Yeah, something is very wrong. I know what I saw. There was a green balloon there. I swear it. I swear all over Bohemia. You could speak as much bad language as you like, but it changes nothing. If you do not have evidence, ragazzo, then I must tell your parents to punish you, eh? Perhaps we'll let the judge decide when it comes to punishments. Evidence? What is this evidence? To give a simple example, young man. A photograph, for instance. Some tangible proof of what you claim. Why didn't you say so sooner? I have the photograph here. Good gracious! What? He got it from the blunt and smoking cave. I had not been up in a balloon for a little while, so I was very excited. I took lots and lots of photographs. Of the Crystal Tower, of the Bohemian exhibit, of the streets of London, of the hot eel cellar, the balloon. And the instantaneous kinesis experiment? Did you take a picture of that?
Ja, one picture. Really, you did take one? But all I wanted was a ride in the balloon. I was not interested in boring experiments. Never mind that. Can you show us the photograph? Of course, and then you will see. You will see that I am not lying. That I really did see a green balloon. There's no color. Well, I see you are all too shocked to speak. Yes, I think shocked isn't indeed the word, young man. Ja, perhaps you cannot see that it was a green balloon from this photograph, but that is not my fault. That is a fault of the stupid person who made the camera. Wow, oh my god. It's got dots above it. Where? I don't know how that A's pronounced. That's one very bohemian sounding cry. Whoa. Very well, the court will accept this photograph as evidence. Photograph taken by Gott while he was riding in a balloon. It shows another balloon that he claims was green and exploded moments after he took the shot. It's not my fault. It's the fault of the person who made the camera. Well, never mind. I'm sure you have plenty of wonderful sepia memories to take home with you. In any case, when exactly did you take that photograph? Well, it was on the day of the big explosion. You don't say. When I pressed the shutter release, there was this very loud bang, and a hot wind rushed over my face. That means this photograph was taken a split second before the explosion occurred. Well, if you ask me, this black and white photograph changes nothing. I could not give the flying fig. Lovely language you've picked up. As I thought, Mr. Loon's testimony doesn't quite add up. It's green, he says. It might be possible to tell it's green with the contrast of the photo. Maybe, but I think there's going to be another explanation. There's going to be something more straightforward. The young bohemian boy claims to have seen another fourth balloon. A fourth balloon enters. But Mr. Loon vehemently denies that possibility. And it's hard to imagine the man in charge could be mistaken about the number that were in the air. Still, this inconsistency must tell us something, I'm sure. So that looks like the beam. That looks like the guy being beamed, but why is it over here? Why is this pointed straight? This can't be the moment of explosion. Because if it was, this would be tilted up, wouldn't it? Huh.
Hold it!
Oh, it skipped this. But the prince took a photograph as proof. It's Prince William Gottstein Sigmund Ormstein. Sigismund. Your royal blood will not help you here, ragazzo. See, it is a balloon, but there's nothing more you could see from this black and white photograph. Just look at my head. That is a Balthazar Loon balloon. The best in the business. His accent got fucked up. Let's try not to get overinflated. The point is this. Here we have a clear photographic proof that in the sky above the experimentation stage, there may very well have been a balloon operated by someone other than you, Mr. Loon. Who was it, I want to know? Who is this mongrel with no respect for boundaries?
As I thought, Mr. Loon's testimony just doesn't stack up.
Hold it! Hold it!
Other damage than what was the one that exploded.
Hold it! Hold it! Hold it!
What the hell? Alright, I don't know how to present this. Oh!
Objection!
There we go. The balloon had no passengers in it. Unfortunately, the photograph Mr. Gotts took can't tell us the color of the balloon. But it can tell us something else, something crucially important. What? It shows that the picture balloon wasn't carrying any passengers. Ah, my goodness, you're right! But surely all the balloons would have been carrying passengers. There'd be no sense in it otherwise. See, they are for pleasure, for seeing the view. Why is he German now? Whoa. Body. Not cooperating tonight. Really not cooperating. Don't worry about that. See, they are for pleasure, for seeing the view. My balloons only fly with passengers. Which tells us that the picture balloon isn't one of them. So, when the incident occurred that day, there was a fourth balloon in the skies above the experimentation stage. The mysterious green balloon. I know nothing. Niente. I can only tell you one thing. If this balloon was not carrying passengers, then it was not one of mine. God, his head's gonna blow.
Objection!
There are legal tradesmen everywhere you care to look. Clearly one such entrepreneur decided to capitalize on the opportunity presented by the great exhibition, and managed to operate balloon flights on Mr. Loon's patch without him realizing. See, the competition trying to steal my profits. I did not know this because of the experiment. It was because of the experimental that went wrong on stage. This fourth balloon exploded at the very same moment Mr. Asman was beamed from the stage below. Right, so then the scraps that fell to the ground after and left them scorch marks, they didn't come from the stage at all. It was bits of the balloon raining down. Because no one was in it, it didn't get no attention. A mysterious fourth balloon carrying no passengers silently floating over the experimentation stage.
Objection!
This photograph shows us nothing more. A stray balloon carrying no one and operated by some rogue trader. Clearly it has nothing to do with the case. All of this does elude me, I must say. The court has seen sufficient evidence and heard ample testimony already. The prosecution calls for this trial to be concluded. Really? Have we really got to the truth yet? No, I can't let this opportunity slip away. The jurors' minds are made up, and not in our favor. What else can this photograph tell us? Is there nothing more we can learn from it? There's more!
Objection!
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, wait. Please don't give your decisions yet. The photograph of Mr. Gott may well be hiding one more vital clue. What's that? A vital clue!
Objection!
We're well past the point of mere possibilities. It's time for definitives now, so tell the court. What exactly does this alleged clue in the photograph prove? Cause of the explosion? I mean, why would the color and who was piloting the balloon matter? We can reasonably assume that the picture balloon was destroyed in the searing heat of the explosion. Ja, that's right, Ja. It was not my fault. Evidently, because the birdcage from the kinesis machine materialized in the sky, where it had been flying. And the balloon being filled with flammable hydrogen. Oh man. Holy shit, I just had like a load of phlegm come up. Oh, that's gross. And the balloon being filled with flammable hydrogen instantly and explosively ignited.
Objection!
No, that's not what happened. What? It would appear that this photograph requires closer examination. Counsel for the defense, you will highlight the location of this alleged clue in this photograph for the court. Of course, my lord. If you look closely, it's plain enough to see. And what's shown is linked to another piece of evidence we have. In a way, that leads to an unbelievable conclusion. The clue that heavily suggests the real reason the balloon exploded is... this right here.
Take that!
The timing of this photograph can only be described as miraculous. If you look, you'll notice there's a bright white line that appears to point directly at the balloon. Most likely a ray of light caught incidentally on the film. I'm afraid I can see nothing of the sort. If you look with the magnifying glass, my lord, it becomes clear what the nature of this bright line really is. Goodness, what is that? Undeniably some flash of light, yes. Oh golly, do you think it might be lightning? But it couldn't have been a finer day. I believe we may be looking at fire. Bolt of fire heading straight for the balloon. Looked like an arrow. Indeed, even to my aging eyes, it would appear to be a flame of some sort. My word, are you suggesting this flame struck the hydrogen gas that filled the balloon?
Objection!
It's absurd. The balloon would have been 60 feet above the ground at the time. No flame could possibly have reached such a height.
Objection!
Actually, it's my opinion that a particular piece of evidence found at the scene reveals how that exactly... that a particular piece of evidence found at the scene reveals how that is exactly what did happen. What evidence? If such evidence exists, counsel, then for goodness sake, present it, man. Which evidence explains this mysterious streak of flame that appears to be headed directly for the balloon?
Take that!
This was found hidden at the foot of the small ornamental tree in this scene. Good lord, is that a crossbow? An arrow dripped in oil and subtle light could have been shot from this weapon, sending a flaming arrow straight into the hydrogen-filled balloon. Are you suggesting that crossbow was used to deliberately... Blimey, you're right. That streak of light in the photo looks just like an arrow, doesn't it? Then the explosion of the balloon, it was... very likely the result of a flaming arrow from this crossbow, igniting the hydrogen gas inside it. No! Order, order. Counsel, this is an extraordinary supposition. the aim was to cause the balloon to explode, the shooter could have used a gun, of course. However, there's an obvious reason why that would have been out of the question. The noise of the discharge, of course. That's right. By using a crossbow, the projectile could be fired at the balloon silently. Well, yeah, if someone had shot a gun off at the exhibit grounds, it would have caused a real panic. With the big explosion, there was a very big panic anyway, no? I don't like this. I should be pleased to have found a plausible new explanation for all this, but something feels wrong.
Objection!
Do you understand the implications of what you're saying, my Nipponese friend? The flaming arrow did indeed hit the balloon, and it obviously would have exploded if the birdcage appeared from the cloud of smoke that ensued. Well, wait a minute. What are you really saying here? I don't get it. Was the birdcage beamed up into the sky after all? Or what? My goodness me. Now I understand. That's what the sinking feeling is about. I think there's a good chance that the birdcage was actually concealed inside the balloon all along. What? Did I just hear that correctly, Counsel? There's no going back now. The horse was bolted. Let's assume, as I said, that the birdcage was hidden inside the green balloon from the start. On stage, when the experiment was started, the birdcage and the instantaneous kinesis machine disappeared in a cloud of smoke. At that moment, the flaming arrow was fired from the ground, causing the green balloon to explode and drawing the attention of the spectators to the sky above their heads. And drawing the attention of the spectators to the sky above their heads. From amid the smoke, the hidden birdcage then appeared to fall down and crash into the crystal tower. I think you'll all agree it's entirely plausible that what I've just described is the real truth behind the miraculous experiment carried out that day. That this... Good grief!
Objection!
This is ludicrous. What you've described is no science experiment. It's child's play, a contemptible display of stage magic. Both Mr. Sholmes and Iris said the experiment was a scientific impossibility. In which case, this is the only way to explain what happened that day. And in any case, the victim's body was found inside the birdcage in the crystal tower. If the instantaneous kinesis didn't take place, how do you explain that? If I may put in a word, as a man of magic myself, such apparent discrepancies can easily be explained by simple deception. Juror number 3. All that we need is a doppelganger, someone who looked very similar to the victim, Mr. Asman, and having this other man appear on stage in front of the show as a body double. Yes, of course. So in fact, Mr. Asman must have been inside the birdcage that was concealed from inside the balloon right from the start.
Objection!
That balloon would have been filled with hydrogen. Anything hidden inside it would have been scattered to the four winds when it exploded. No one would ever have embarked on such a risky venture. Not necessarily. The explosive force of the balloon gas would very much depend upon the mixture ratio. Juror number 4. Flying balloons are rarely filled with pure hydrogen, but a mixture of other gases such as helium as well. Helium on its own doesn't explode, but by controlling the gas mixture ratio, the explosive force can be altered. The mixture ratio. Obviously, the victim's body would have suffered some burns. That would be unavoidable. But not to such an extent as to render the whole obscene charade impossible. So everything that happened can be explained, logically and scientifically. The explosion that engulfed the stage at the start of the experiment was no accident. It was all part of an elaborate deception to make it appear that the instantaneous kinesis had occurred. Well, goodness me. And if we accept that this is what happened, it means that the victim, Mr. Asman, was never present on the public experimentation stage to begin with. In short, he couldn't have been killed by the defendant who was on stage in full view the entire time. This will be very hard for the prosecution to counter. Lord Van Zieks can credibly maintain that Professor Harebrain is a suspect now. Nope, get him out of here. Mr. Naruhodo, I appreciate your efforts. Thank you. Professor. But you could stop now. Just keep your mouth shut, please. Sorry? What's all this about, Mr. Harebrain? I, Albert Harebrain, hereby confess that it was me who stabbed Mr. Odie Asman. Yes, it was me, with my faithful friend and partner, Andrew the Screwdriver. What are you doing? He can't accept that this experiment didn't happen. Order, order, order! Defendant, explain this sudden confession.
Objection.
Professor Harebrain, what are you talking about? It's what I've said all along. I must protect my hypothesis and my precious machine. You stand there and claim it was all a trick, an elaborate prank, but where's your proof? No, you'd have to examine the machine if you wanted to prove it, but then it would all be over. My beautiful hypothesis would be laid bare. I mean, the indignity of it. It's clear that you drew the plans for the experiment, but you didn't actually build it. It's quite conceivable that you were duped, Professor. If you'll just let me, I can prove Barrack. Yes? I'll cooperate. I'll do whatever you say. I swear it. So please, yeah, oh my god. Bitch, ho, don't do it. Oh my god. Ensure the Special Dispensation for Scientific Equipment Act is adhered to and protect my creation. Pray forgive the discourtesy of filling my hallowed chalice at this critical juncture. Here's to my learned Nipponese friend. What? And his upcoming attempt to clarify the defense's position in the light of the accused's confession. Do you intend to formally assert that the experiment was nothing more than a conjuring trick? Because the moment you do, the Special Dispensation for Scientific Equipment Act that protects the professor's invention will cease to apply. The prosecution will then demand a rigorous examination of the machinery involved in order to establish the truth. However, if you acknowledge that the machine is genuine and instrumental in the victim's murder, any chance of investigating will be crushed, and the confidentiality of the professor's hypothesis preserved. Well, counsel, what is the defense's official position on this matter? What Professor Harebrain, my client, actually asked of me was to prove that the explosion on stage was an accident and protect the secrecy of his hypothesis. But there's no way to do that without implying the professor's guilt. Do I protect my client's life by asserting his innocence, or do I uphold my client's request but to see him condemned? Either way, I can't avoid betraying his trust. You've been silent long enough. Isn't talking your trade, my learned friend? Or has all knowledge of English escaped your confused Nipponese mind? I love how you did that. I love how you did the not like this emote at the exact same moment Ryunosuke does that. That's incredible. I think I have an idea of what's going to happen here, because this is very similar to another case from the main Ace Attorney series. I think something big is about to happen. Mr. Naruhodo. There's no escape here. I have to make a choice. But it's an impossible one. I have to give up on something, but what? The defense asserts the defendant's instantaneous kinesis machine was, in fact... Yeah, he's about to get the 11th hour help here. No, I can't say it. My client places faith in me. I can't just let him down. What must I give up on is not the question you have to ask yourself here. I knew it. It's what can I protect? Hello again, Mr. Naruhodo. It's been far too long. Yep, exactly. It's like the on guard case. Sato-san! But what are you... Hiya! Say, what are you wearing? My first Sato takedown in 6 months. There'll be time to talk later, Mr. Naruhodo. For now, we must concentrate on the task at hand. Which is working out not what I have to give up on, but what can I protect? Professor Hairbrain. Yes? Yesterday you told me that science is the pursuit of truth. Well, my job is to pursue the truth too. Yes, of course. And personally, I believe that you didn't stab Mr. Asman. Yeah, it did get scary there. I think you've come to realize something yourself too, haven't you? That your experiment and the machine you built with the victim are questionable. The truth behind that is what we must both pursue now. Oh god! So you finally opened your eyes. What? And as for you, Albert, you can't ignore this any longer. Having heard my learned friend's assertion... Another one bites the dust again. Don't you have something to say? Barrick. Lord Van Zeeks. Gosh, I've never heard him speak that way before. Where'd you get those clothes, Sato? In truth, there is one thing. Something I've remembered that's of relevance. What? On the day it happened, just before I began the experiment, I saw a man near the stage. A man holding that crossbow. I beg your pardon? Professor, did the man have any distinguishing features? What did he look like? Taller than me, and thinner than me, with straight hair, straighter and whiter than mine. Let me see, one less lens than me, too, a monocle, a rather stylish black monocle. But one thing in particular will help to positively identify the man. You see, I know him very well. After all, he's the engineer who built my invention. What? He built the machine? That's right, Mr. Asman introduced him to me a year ago. He's a man by the name of... Enoch Drebber. Enoch Drebber? Does this name mean something? Members of the jury seem flustered. Not a name any scientist wishes to hear. That man's an abomination. Not a name any conjurer wishes to hear either. Who on earth is he? I'm afraid this isn't the first tale of this nature that I've heard in scientific circles in connection with that name. There's talk of other flamboyant experiments that turn out to be nothing but stage trickery in the end. Obviously, that rascal is after the government's research grant money. When magicians are in need of money, I have heard them resorting to these underhand tactics. Some acquaintances of mine with experience of such things have mentioned Enoch Drebber's name before. That man is both an engineer and a magician. Yes, we're both dealing with an unparalleled confidence trickster here. That's Enoch Drebber for you. Alright, well, let's pull him up. Pull this 11th hour guy up. So it's true then. My invention, my great machine, it was just a grand illusion. Considering what we've just heard about Mr. Drebber's character, I'm sorry to say that sounds increasingly likely. Even though no one else believed it, I wanted to. I wanted to believe that machine would function exactly as my hypothesis predicted. Which is why you were so opposed to it being investigated, I presume.
I knew that if the machine was examined in detail, its construction would give away my hypothesis. Obviously, I didn't want that to happen, but at the same time, I knew that if it wasn't found to be nothing more than a trick, than a work of deception, then everything I'd worked towards, all my research, all my dreams, my whole life would be over. I was terrified at the prospect. So you really had no idea then, did you? About the true nature of the machine that was built, and the true nature of Mr. Drebber. I never questioned anything. I didn't want to question it. It's entirely possible that Mr. Asman and Mr. Drebber were working together to use you as a means of fraudulently acquiring the research grant money. When I announced my inventions to the crowds that day, it was the finest moment of my career. I pulled all the levers and turned all the dials in exactly the way Drebber had described. When the smoke suddenly started billowing out, I panicked. So they were gonna off him too? I don't think they were gonna off him. I think they were just trying to, get the money, and I think Drebber killed this guy. When the smoke suddenly started billowing out, I panicked. I didn't know what was happening. But I really don't know how the whole illusion was made to work. I don't know anything anymore. Well, I think we can kind of assume where the extra body double is. It's a wax statue. And it's probably one that Enoch stole from the Wax Museum. Because they said the Wax Museum's tied to the case. Let me confirm one final point with you, Professor. Do you now consent to the prosecution submitting the necessary paperwork to release your invention from the protection afforded by the Special Dispensation for Scientific Equipment Act? Yes, please go ahead. I'm very sorry. It would appear that we shall have to suspend the proceedings for the remainder of the day now. Lord Van Zeeks, my lord, the court has newly been made aware of another party whose involvement in this matter is critical. Yes, Mr. Drebber. Gather information about the man. If possible, I should like him served with a subpoena. With pleasure, my lord. Now, counsel for the defense. Yes, my lord. When we reconvene, I shall be looking for one thing and one thing alone from you. Evidence that the defendant is innocent of the crime for which he presently stands accused. I understand. Good. In that case, this court is adjourned until tomorrow morning. So someone did the reader mode, which automatically makes the game play itself, and apparently this is the second longest case in the game. The last case of the first game was the longest case. It was about 10 hours. This one's about 8 total, if you do everything automatically, so it's going to be longer for me. And apparently cases 4 and 5 are shorter individually, but they're also connected. So it's just going to end up being like one 12-hour thing, apparently. Which honestly means I might be able to do it all before I go to FWA, but I'm not sure. Your ability, defense antechamber, 1:36 p.m. Mr. Naruhodo. Yes? I'm so sorry. I was wrong. You were right. I tricked you. You trusted me. I dragged you into my mess. Oh, how did it ever come to this? I'm so sorry. Did you really have no idea, Professor, about what Mr. Drebber was really up to, I mean? About what he really was constructing? Naturally, the machine was the embodiment of my hypothesis, all of my hopes and dreams. I had complete faith in it. Alright, in that case, I won't say any more. Now, sadly the murder accusation against you still stands, so we must do as much investigation as we can before the trial resumes tomorrow. Glasses, pushing them up. Do the thing. Well, thank you for doing so much for me.
I'm so sorry for arriving late this morning, Mr. Naruhodo. Arriving late? Didn't you receive my postcard? I wanted to let you know when I'd arrive. Postcard? What postcard? I hid it from you, Runo, so it would be a surprise. Well, did it work? I was surprised, alright, especially when she threw me to the ground. Oh dear, I'm so sorry. I was just so happy to see you again that it sort of slipped out. Maybe we could stick to more traditional displays of emotion in future. Susie's train was late into London Victoria this morning, you see. But we made the coachman really whip the horse's heart so she didn't miss the whole trial. I was watching from the gallery for a while, but in the end, I'm afraid I couldn't contain myself. Well, I'm glad you didn't. Oh. Having you at my side in court gives me the strength I need to win. So, I'm, delighted to see you back in London. Oh, you're too kind, Mr. Naruhodo. I'm delighted to be here. I hope I can continue to be of service to you. Of course. So what's brought you back? So she took a 2-month boat back to Japan, was in Japan for 2 months and did that trial, and then took another 2-month boat back here. Good lord. She must hate the ocean by now. Did Professor Mikotoba not protest? Let's save all that conversation for when we're back at home, shall we? You know, I've made one of my most special blends ever for this special occasion. Oh, Iris, how wonderful. I can't wait. Susato-san was back in London. It's hard to describe how happy that made me feel at the time, but despite my elation, our tale was about to take yet another extraordinary turn. It's weird because the to be continues don't split the chapters up. When you look at the actual levels, thing selection or whatever. When you look at the chapter selection from the main menu, it's actually like each chapter has multiple start points in it. 23rd October, 2:41 p.m. Oh, this room, it's been too long. It hasn't changed in the slightest, though. And it's been some 6 months, hasn't it? It's a long time for things to say so familiar. I didn't know when you might return, and I wanted everything to be as you left it. But it has been some 6 months, it's true. So is your father alright, Susie? What happened? My father? Yes, Professor Mikotoba, I mean, it was half a year ago. But that's why you went back to Japan. Because of the telegram you received saying he'd fallen ill with a very high fever for some unknown reason. That's right, so I was surprised to learn you'd be coming back so soon. Surprised but happy. I think I wrote about it in my letter to you. That it was all a trick. My father is in fine health, and I'm obviously very relieved about that. Well, we're all delighted to have you back. It was quite by accident that I've been able to return to Europe, actually. It's because of a very grand conference called the International Forensic Science Symposium. The International Forensic, that's the same symposium Lord Strongheart mentioned. Anyway, I've arrived safe and sound, and all that matters is that I'm here now. After all, I haven't yet fulfilled my promise to you, Iris. Oh. You must tell us everything that happened while you were back in Japan. Yes, of course, I shall. And there's one other thing. Something you wrote in your letter that particularly grabbed my attention. About you-know-who. About Kazuma. I know. I'll tell you all that I can. But first, let's examine this. Thinking back, that spade's been in here since we first moved in, hasn't it? I'm sure I've told you before, Mr. Naruhodo, it's not a spade. It's a shovel. No, shovels are for digging. That's for scooping up loose material. It's a spade. No, spades are for digging. That's for scooping up loose material. It's a shovel. The great spade-shovel war rages on. See? I've been keeping my desk beautifully covered in papers, as always. You You really must tidy it all up, Mr. Naruhodo. No more excuses. But Mrs. Sato, the way I see it, all these papers building up my desk like this are a reminder of my wonderfully diverse daily life. I like to leave them as they are, so I never forget how lucky I am to have such varied experiences. In that case, you should definitely have a thorough tidy. Then you'll be able to see your papers building up all over again and feel that joy renewed. Morning, Jem. How you doing? Still can't beat her in an argument, even though I'm the lawyer here. I see your Daruma still only has one eye filled. Well, we agreed that it's something we'd do together, didn't we? We could do it right now if you'd like. I'd be happy with that. I rather like the anticipation, I think, Mr. Naruhodo. Your room through there should be exactly as you left it. I've still never been inside. I've never been invited. Of course not. Only Iris is allowed in my room. No doubt I'll be hearing you two giggling away in there again, then. Must be about a year ago now. I wrote a really long story based on some of my father's old notes. It's about one of Hurley's greatest exploits. I call it The Hound of the Baskervilles. But then Mr. Sholmes forbade you from publishing it, and put the manuscript somewhere no one could get their hands on it. So nobody knows anything about it apart from Hurley and I. But for some reason, you knew the title of it, didn't you, Susie? Oh, it sounds so exciting. The Hound of the Baskervilles. I should love to read it. And you wouldn't tell me how you'd come to know it. Yes, but I made you a promise that I would explain one day, didn't I? I think it's time. Oh. I'm only sorry I've had to keep it from you for so long, Iris. It was completely by accident that I came to know the title of your manuscript, Iris. It was a short while before we left Japan. I was cleaning Father's study and I saw something on his writing desk. A large box of papers. There was a label affixed to the box that was written in English. It read, The Hound of the Baskervilles. What? My Baskerville story? Of course, I had no idea what it was at the time. But Father came in and... Sasato, what are you doing? What are you doing, Sasato? It's me, Mustache. Oh, Father. Did you look at those papers? No, I simply read the label, that's all. Well, put it out of your mind. Sorry? Forget that you ever saw it, and certainly don't tell anybody else about this. Do you understand? But what was Iris's manuscript doing in Japan? I have no idea. But when I heard Iris mention the word Baskerville that day, the title just slipped out. I would never have guessed that it was an unpublished account of one of Mr. Sholmes' exploits. When I returned to Japan, I asked Father to explain, but he refused to answer any of my questions, and there was no sign of the big box in his office. That's really all I know about it. I have no doubt that Father has a very good reason for being so secretive about it, but still. I made up my mind to explain myself, to both of you. Well, thank you for being so honest, Susie. I'm so pleased to see all our sea creatures doing so well in the aquarium. Yes, the prawns are still swimming, and the anemones are still swaying. Obviously, I've been looking after them carefully. At first, I used to drool whenever I looked at those juicy prawns, but not anymore. They're like part of the family now. I don't suppose they'll ever know how close they were to meeting their maker. I left your desk completely untouched, Mrs. Sato, so it would be ready for you whenever you returned. It's beautifully clean. There isn't a speck of dust on it anywhere. You've been cleaning in my absence, Mr. Naruhodo? Whatever next? Well, I couldn't allow my great assistant's desk to sit there gathering dust, could I? Ugh. It really is exactly as it was when I left. I'm so touched. But sadly, your desk is also exactly as it was, too. Well, that's how it should be, after all. Oh dear, I'd forgotten how that clean-cut smile can be so disarming. You're still taking good care of that armband, I see. I'm so pleased. Well, yes, it feels like I wouldn't be me without it now, to be honest. Oh dear, there seems to be a thread coming loose just there, look. I'd be only too happy to mend it for you, Mr. Naruhodo. Oh, thank you. I must have scraped it against something again. I'm always doing that. Then take better care of it, please. It was all going so well until I ruined it. Back in Britain. Brighton. When I first arrived back in Japan, I really thought I'd never be allowed to return to Britain. But curiously, after that awful trial at the Supreme Court, Father's mood changed entirely. That awful trial, oh yes, for the murder of Giselle Brett. Ooh, you dressed as a man then, didn't you, Susie? Oh, well, yes, since women are forbidden in the courtroom, I had no choice. Wow, amazing. Wish I'd seen it. Don't you, Runo? Yes, I suppose so. I want to play at being a lawyer now. I could wear a false mustache, maybe. I don't think any mustache could hide the fact that you're just 10 years old, Iris. There's something else I've been wanting to ask you, Mrs. Sato. It's about the real reason why Professor Mikotoba summoned you back to Japan. You said in your letter it was something to do with that convict's loot we found in Mr. Natsume's lodgings. That's right. The very large dog collar we found with the bee emblem on it. It seems Mr. Natsume included a drawing of that collar in the report he submitted about his time in Britain. I understand that when Father saw the report, he turned as white as a sheet. Why would that be, then? Well, it's a dog collar and it's got a bee, so Hound of Baskervilles, so it's probably tied to that somehow. Father came to Britain himself, of course, to study. It was some time ago now, but he stayed for 6 years. I can only imagine that something must have happened during that time. But if he refuses to tell me what it was, then I intend to find the answers for myself. I've decided that I, for one, won't keep any more secrets. Oh, Susie! It's a very meaningful look Susato-san's giving Iris there. Forensic Science Symposium. Lord Strongheart mentioned something about that symposium, too. I think he said that the investigation authorities from 40 different countries would attend. Investigative. Yes, and from Japan, my father and Judge Jigoku have been invited. It's something of an honor, I believe. Well, Professor Mikotoba is the leading expert in forensic medicine in our country, after all. But who's the other person you mentioned? A judge, did you say? Yes, His Excellency, Judge Seishiro Jigoku. You've met him before, Mr. Naruhodo. Last year in the Supreme Court. You can't possibly have forgotten. That terrible trial of yours when you were accused of murder? Doing good, how have you been? I've been okay. Just kind of tired today. But tomorrow's gonna be like the big push to finish this case, so I'm gonna be streaming early probably. And then you won't see me for a week. Almost. About a week. 20th through the 25th, I will not be here. And then I won't be here the 4th through the 10th either. Yes, I try to think of that as a positive turning point in my life these days. Well, it was Judge Jigoku who presided over that trial. Blah, blah, blah. If I'm perfectly honest, I'd be happy never to see that man's face again in my life. Oh, well, anyway, his father was invited to the symposium. He agreed to me returning to Britain, too. He won't actually arrive until next month, but, well, I couldn't wait. So I pleaded with him, and in the end he agreed to me going on ahead. Yes, about the symposium. It seems as though Lord Strongheart has put an awful lot of work to make it happen. It's obviously very important. I believe it is, yes. As I understand it, Lord Strongheart organized the entire event himself. I think he's hoping that by achieving exceptional results, he'll get the job of Attorney General, the most senior position in the British justice system. He's hoping to use his power to create the world's finest policing institution. That's what Father said anyway. Apparently, it's Lord Strongheart's lifelong ambition. Are we taking a break, or are you going to be busy? I'm going to be at PAX in Boston. PAX East, which is in Boston, so I won't be home. And I'm going to be gone in Atlanta, Georgia, from the 5th to the 10th. So I'm going to be on the East Coast, just at the top of it, just towards up on the East Coast, and then down south on the East Coast, for about a week each. Also, actually, speaking of that, that brings up something interesting. This weekend is a Tetris 99 Maximus Cup. So this is going to be the first Maximus Cup since I started streaming them that I'm not going to be around to stream, unfortunately. I will get the... I'm obviously going to get the theme, because I love Tetris 99, but it kind of sucks that I'm not going to be here to stream it. There's not much I could do about it, and I'd much rather skip streaming it than skip my vacation, so maybe some other time. But we'll see. We'll see. So that kind of sucks. Yeah, enjoy your time there. Thank you. I will. Does Professor Mikotoba know Strongheart personally, then, I wonder? Actually, Lord Strongheart gave me the long speech all about the subject only yesterday. But I sort of lost the will to live early on and didn't really listen to much of it. How trying for you. Giselle Brett. The woman whose unforgivable actions ended in me being wrongly accused of a crime I didn't commit. The murder of Dr. John H. Wilson. Yes, Giselle Brett. That's a name I won't forget for as long as I live. The extraordinary thing is, though, it seems it's a name we should all forget. Sorry? Since the incident, our government's intelligence services has been investigating Miss Brett. But it turns out that an Englishwoman by the name of Giselle Brett didn't actually exist. Didn't exist? But how can that be? It was a pseudonym. Her real name was Shin, and she Shin. And she wasn't a visiting student either. That was a front. A front? Who on earth was she then? Miss A. Shin. Her name is literally all our intelligence services have been able to ascertain about her. A. Shin is one of the 4 names in the report from the end of the from the disc at the end of the first game. So at the end of the first, like the last case of the first game, had to do with retrieving a music disc, 2 music discs that, when put together, had a Morse code signal in Japanese from the British government, and in that signal were 4 names: K. Asogi, so Kazuma, A. Shin, which was also at the end of the first case, which we didn't know. J. Wilson, so John Wilson, and then T. Gudeguson, which was Gregson in katakana, like in Japanese pronunciation. So the inspector, Kazuma, this lady Giselle, who's now dead, and John H. Wilson, all were named in this weird disc. We have no idea what it's about. And now apparently 3 of these people are dead, because A. Shin is dead, Kazuma's dead, and Tobias is dead. No, not Tobias. Tobias is alive. He's dead inside, but John H. Wilson is dead. So Gregson's the only one mentioned in that disc that's still alive. They need true legal attire. I guess they need to buy a lawsuit. That's a good one, Sour Cream. But yes, I'm playing with the alternate costumes. Nobody knows why, or even how she came to be in Japan. It's a complete mystery. But that makes no sense. It's no easy task to be accepted as a foreign student anywhere. What could the woman have been up to? I'm afraid I don't really know. The only thing we could be sure of is that she had some business in our country that we don't yet understand. He's dead inside, so is Gregson. Yeah, that's what I just meant. Gregson is dead. And now she's been killed. While all the questions surrounding her existence remain unanswered. I'm afraid so. A. Shin. Who on earth was she? And why do I feel as though I've heard that name before somewhere? about Kazuma-kun. Kazuma-kun. After my friend Ray's trial, the reporter who actually killed Miss Brett said something very strange. I knew you had a hand in that visiting student's fate. Nobody here in Japan knows anything about it. They don't know the guy never made it to England, that he died on that steamship, and that he'll never... Obviously, I couldn't ask him to elaborate at the time. I shouldn't impact. But I later visited the man in his prison cell and asked him what he was going to say about Kazuma-sama. And what did you learn? After he died on the voyage to Great Britain, his body should have been unladen at the port of Hong Kong and passed to the care of the consulate staff there. Should have been. Well, it turns out that his body never arrived. It just disappeared. What? Kazuma's body vanished? Oh, god damn it. Our government tried to cover up the fact, it seems. They erected a grave on the cliffs by our hometown. Except, Kazuma-sama isn't there. Did Professor Mikotoba know about this? Yes, it would seem that he did. But he didn't tell me. They're still investigating what happened to Kazuma-sama's body as we speak. I just don't believe it. And what is this acute feeling of apprehension I have all of a sudden? Thinking back now, some of the things that happened on the SS Burya were definitely strange. I mean, after he died, we never saw his body again, did we? Could it be? Could it be that he's actually still alive? Stop it, Mr. Naruhodo, it's too much to bear. I mean, if he said that, it's gotta be true. Oh, god damn it. I know who he is. I know where he is. If he's alive, I know exactly where he is. This is him, isn't it? He's the masked man. Fuck. Oh, fuck. What does this mean? Holy shit, that all clicked into place way too quickly. No, I will not be singing. Do not make me sing sour cream. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. Just thinking about the possibility pains me so very much. Cast your mind back for a moment, Mr. Naruhodo. When Kazuma-sama was discovered, Mr. Sholmes was there, wasn't he? And he definitely examined the body. I remember it clearly. You're right. So if Kazuma hadn't actually been dead at all, it would mean that Mr. Sholmes had lied to us. But there's no reason why he would have possibly have done such a thing. You think so? He's been pretty secretive about some of the shit he's done so far. Uh-oh. I suppose that's true, yes. The idea that he might still be alive somewhere. It wants to fill me with hope, but I can't let it. Because if it turned out not to be true, then I'd be back at the bottom of that awful pit of despair again. I'm terrified of what that might do to me. Oh, Mrs. Sato. I know she's given the idea the thought it deserves. It's a Sato-san we're talking about after all. So I probably shouldn't push it now. Oh, he's definitely still alive. So, Mr. Naruhodo, I'm ready to start investigating if you are. I've committed every detail about the case to memory. And Iris has told me about the disturbing happenings at the Waxwork Museum as well. So you're fully abreast of the situation already, Mrs. Sato. I expect nothing less, to be honest. I would think our first port of call should be to investigate this Mr. Drebber, the engineer responsible for building the elaborate machine that was used to effect this extraordinary trick. Yes, a conjurer of sorts by the sound of it, well known in the fields of science and magic. Then, we need to go and arrest him. Well, yes, he must know the truth behind this case, so I agree we really do need to find the man. It seems like it's a case of tracking someone down, which is a job for the police, or a great detective. Are we supposed to guess who she might be thinking of? We don't have much time, so we need to get started straight away, I think. Good idea. Well, best of luck then. Oh, you're not coming today? I'm going to Brixton Road shortly for the herb market. Let me know later how you got on, won't you? Did someone say disrepair? That was a little abrupt. The pull of the herb market must be strong. Do you know? I honestly thought I might never have the opportunity to return to Great Britain. And certainly not so soon. It's funny, for the past 6 months I haven't been able to work in court. Meanwhile, you've been raising a storm in the Supreme Court of Judicature back in Japan. Please, Mr. Naruhodo, I may have been dressed as a man, but it was a very reserved performance. What your father said in his letter about a Ryutaro takedown is... reserved? Well, anyway, I'm back here in this great capital now. I'm ready to assist you again. Any way I can. I'd like to say my farewells to my friend Kazuma, my best friend. Stop telling everyone I'm dead! Sometimes I could still hear his voice. Gay, gay, homosexual, gay. Thank you, Mrs. Sato. That's what I think of whenever I hear that meme of like the character's boyfriend going hey, gay, gay, homosexual, gay. It's my pleasure, Mr. Naruhodo. A new location has been added. No. I can't go to the prosecutor's office. I like how they have little flavor text at the bottom. Sholmes' suite. This blackboard is where Iris scribbles down her latest ideas, isn't it? Let's see. Oh, she seems to have drawn a lot of little stick figures all lined up. Look. Cheap apples at the market is what all of them say. What? The little figures can speak? All your questions would be answered if only you would read this month's Rants magazine. So I'm the only one who can't make any sense of this. The Herlockian awarded. Now that's done. Oh my, no wonder it's called the House of Horrors. I'd like to turn on my heels and go straight home. Via the confectionery. Being scared makes you crave sweets? I can understand that. Herlock Sholmes, yes. I was looking forward to a reunion after 6 months away, but... there's no sign of Mr. Sholmes anywhere. That's strange. He should be here investigating the abduction of the waxwork. Oh well, I suppose we'll just have to come back again later. Ah, yes, the heavy curtains in the middle of the House of Horrors. Whatever's on the other side of them, you just know it's going to be terrifying, don't you? The sign says it's the Madame Tuspel's special exhibit. It seems you have to pay extra to go inside. Show me, woe me. I know, can you believe that? Pay more money as if we haven't been scared enough already? It's not my doing, Mr. Naruhodo. Ah, there's a stepladder there, look. Oh, yes, a stepladder. I think perhaps we should let the proprietress know that someone's left it out. The stepladder, I mean. Is something wrong? Why do I feel as though I just managed to sidestep an argument? The top rung awarded. I believe there... well, you know what? I'll just check at the end. I've already checked the spade. Shovel. I believe there's one more for the spade achievement in Chapter 4. And then that's it. And that's like all the weird ones. Mr. Sholmes doesn't appear to be here. We should have to come back later. We haven't been here, have we yet? I'm rather excited. You know, I don't think we visited this place for some time. References, yeah. British Supreme Court, Lord Chief Justice's office. Oh, who's that standing beside Lord Strongheart? I wonder. I've never seen her before. The stepladder argument is in every Ace Attorney game. It's in all 6 of them. In fact, I think it's in the investigations games, too. This game is the only one that sidesteps it by having it be like a small thing. But I guess it's a small thing in every game, technically. This game gives you an achievement for looking at it. The young champion of the court. You had some success this morning, I understand. And you've thrown the entire government into disarray as a result. Oh, you mean because of Professor Harebrain's experiment? Sham science being demonstrated at London's Great Exhibition. The country's been made to look foolish, and now politicians are scrabbling to respond. Lord Van Zeeks is in Whitehall as we speak, giving an emergency briefing. Oh dear, I didn't mean to cause any trouble. None of this is your responsibility. The government is entirely to blame for having been taken in. Special dispensation that prevents investigation at the scene will be annulled later today. Once that happens, my forensic investigation team will move in and deal with that scrap metal in no time. It's scrap metal now, is it? Until later then, Lord Strongheart. Is that a prosecutor's badge? Yes, thank you. She had like pen nibs in her hair. Who was that? That was Dr. Courtney Scythe, Scotland Yard's esteemed chief coroner. I knew she was gonna show up. I knew the second they put her name in the autopsy report as the coroner that she was gonna have some relevance to this case. She's leading the forensic investigation team's handling of this case. She was just delivering her report about the victim, in fact. Oh, I see. Can you tell me about what's his name? Van Zeek's apprentice there? Did he seem Japanese to you? Like, you know, do you have maybe, like, a sword by his... never mind. Oh, I see. About Mr. Asman. Following the outcome of this trial earlier, I asked the coroner's office to reevaluate its findings. I don't have time to tell you what she concluded. If you want to know, you'll have to ask her directly. You could find her in the forensics laboratory. Ah, right. Now, what were you here to see me about? I can give you 7 minutes and 39 seconds of my time. So he's not running quite so spectacularly late anymore. What exactly is the forensic investigation team that you mentioned before? The British Empire's police force must become the most exemplary in the world. For that to happen, it's imperative that we embrace forensic science and everything it has to offer. I first created the forensic investigation team a year ago now, unofficially of course, to pave the way. Goodness, a year ago? At next month's symposium, I intend to present the results of their work to the world. Once I do that, the House of Lords will be powerless to oppose the creation of a full-scale forensics division. And once that happens, the position of Attorney General will be mine, and criminals will suffer dearly. What do you mean? For too long, those scoundrels have made a mockery of our legal system with false evidence and bribes. But London's scum is about to be rounded up and burnt in the fires of hell. That sounds kind of, authoritarian. I intend to see it personally. By creating the finest police force the world has ever known, to protect our honor and our future. Look at those eyes. He means every word. Dr. Scythe is an extremely reliable coroner. When I officially establish the forensics division at Scotland Yard, she will run it as my right-hand woman. Now then, speaking of the symposium, Miss Mikotoba... Mikotoba? Oh, yes, my lord? Your father should be on the high seas as we speak, making his way here to represent the Empire of Japan, the Empire of Taste. Those doves in the background, those screaming birds. Yes, that's right. I understand he will arrive at the beginning of next month. Are you acquainted, Lord Strongheart? With Professor Mikotoba, I mean? Well, it was many years ago now, but yes. I remember Dr. Mikotoba very well. If my memory serves, it was some 15 years ago now that your father came to Britain as a visiting student. It was the year I was born, so yes, 16 years ago, in fact. Mikotoba was a young practitioner of forensic science, and Jigoku accompanied him as a young, promising judge. The punctiliousness and politeness of the Japanese at the time impressed me greatly. Not that I wish to imply impoliteness or carelessness on your part in any way. I didn't think that you were. Dr. Mikotoba studied forensics at one of London's large hospitals. St. Sinners, if I'm not mistaken. Dr. Scythe was also there then, as it happens. Then Dr. Scythe knows my father, does she? She was a young medical assistant at the time, so I doubt their paths crossed regularly. But I've no doubt they knew each other superficially. After all, Dr. Mikotoba was here studying his subject for some 6 years in total. 6 years? That's a long time to be studying abroad, isn't it? I lived with my grandmother in those years, so he left his newly born daughter behind and went overseas for 6 whole years. It was a rather turbulent time at home. Oh, perhaps Father wanted a reason to get away. What do you mean? Why? My mother died, right? Well, clearly something was going on at the time. Your father is on his way. Did you clean your room? I wanted to ask you about Lord Van Zeeks, actually. I heard that his older brother was killed some years ago by a mass murderer known as the Professor, who targeted nobles and royalty. Is that right? You Japanese are a thorough lot. You've done your research well. Yes. And you could say it was that very incident that gave rise to the Reaper. What? Why? When his brother, Clint Van Zeeks, was murdered. It was just after young Barrack had graduated from the University of London and became a prosecutor. When obvious criminals who managed to evade conviction in court started disappearing, rumors quickly spread throughout the capital. Londoners started to say that wherever Barrack Van Zeeks went, the ghost of his dead brother wasn't far behind. Oh my word. So, Lord Van Zeeks isn't the Reaper. It's the ghost of his brother? Ever since that time, he became a very aloof figure in London's legal circles. Ugh, slurring. Oh yes, Lord Strongheart. Go ahead. It's about Professor Harebrain's experimental machine. We'd like your permission to examine the remains, if possible. Are you well versed in science, then? Not in the slightest. In fact, you could say I was barely aware of the subject at all until recently. Well, the special dispensation legally preventing investigation of the machine is currently being annulled. Within a few hours, Dr. Scythe's team of forensic experts will begin their own investigation. But I suppose until then, there's no harm in you looking at the wreckage, as long as you touch nothing. Thank you. Being able to look at it is better than nothing. And I'll be able to see it too. Your time is up. You'll have to excuse me now, I'm afraid. My next engagement calls. We are extremely sorry to have troubled you when you were so busy, my lord. I have important matters to attend to in preparation for the symposium, you understand. Another new location has been added. Forensics laboratory. Whoa. It's going off the charts here. Local prison, cell 11. Courtney Scythe? No, well, it has nothing to do with Athena Sykes from the 5th and 6th game. Pretty sure there's no relation at all. This isn't like Pokemon Legends where everyone has a descendant. It's just Ryunosuke, I think. What's he doing? Oh my, the whole wall's covered in mathematical equations. And he's still writing more now. Professor, sorry to interrupt. Oh, Mr. Naruhodo. And who is this young lady? My name is Sasato Mikotoba. I'm Mr. Naruhodo's judicial assistant. It's a pleasure to meet you, Professor. Oh, if only I'd met a refined young woman like you sooner.
none of this would have happened. No, that's not logical. That makes no sense at all. Oh dear, I'm sorry if my presence here upsets you. I owe you an apology too, Professor. I didn't manage to deliver what I promised you I would in court this morning. Oh no. This whole miserable affair. It all happened because I've been such a complete and utter clot. Professor Hairbrain, what have you been working on in your cell? Oh, you mean that? Oh dear, how embarrassing. I was suddenly struck by the idea, you see, and I simply had to write it down. The wall was all I had to hand. Oh, is it some new hypothesis? Something to surpass super high voltage instantaneous kinesis, maybe? No, actually, this is my autobiography. Your autobiography? How I Was Diddled and Fiddled by Albert Hairbrain. Oh no, come on, man. Don't name it that, please. I found I could represent my odd fortunes with only odd numbers in an ambitious set of simultaneous equations. Really? I'm going to have to pay back all the loans I took for the kinesis machine, you see. So it's going to be a new serial publication from next month. Part 1, an odd birth and an odd upbringing. A little like light magazine he has. Science. There's the thumbnail for this part. You can't beat the man's optimism, that's for sure. I see. Well, for now, would you mind if we talked a little more about the case? Oh, yes, of course. I've been working through the numbers. I was diddled. I was fiddled. No, by the pair of them. He was diddled by the diddler. By Asmon, by that aloof engineer Drebber. We're not going to have to sit through an explanation of all these equations, are we? I can't even examine it. Everything I believed in has been turned on its head. My research, my Mr. Asmon, the kinesis machine, next playing Bravely Default 2, my hypothesis even. I'm sorry it's come to this. There was really no other way. No, it's not your fault. I wanted to protect my work. Oh wait, was that Ryunosuke saying that? Whoops, okay. But in the end, there was nothing worth protecting. It was never my intention to deceive anyone. I didn't want to trick the public. No, of course you didn't. But in court this morning, I realized something. Oh? If you've done something wrong without knowing it, you've still done something wrong. Logically, it makes no difference if you're aware of it or not. Ignorance is a poor excuse. The blame still lies with me. Oh, Professor. He believed in me this morning, you know. Barrack did. He believed in my hypothesis. Well, I think that was just a necessary factor in the prosecution establishing its case. No, Barrack wouldn't do something like that. I'm sure he genuinely believed it. Did he? I think I understand now why it was that he decided to take on the prosecution in my trial, I mean. After the terrible accident happened, nobody would believe in my hypothesis anymore. Not the police, not the prosecution service, not any lawyers even. I feel like I dealt some kind of finishing blow there. So if any prosecutor had taken the case, if it was anyone other than Barrack, I'm sure the prosecution would have declared my hypothesis a complete and utter nonsense. And in that case, you would have been declared a fraud yourself, Professor. Exactly, which would have been a fate worse than death for me. But Barrack insisted that I was a proper man of science from start to finish. You think that's why he... I know him very well indeed. He's an extremely kind-hearted soul. But that extremely kind-hearted soul spent all morning trying to paint you as a murderer, didn't he? Well, admittedly, that part of the analysis appears to have some flaws in it. But what about the whole Reaper side of things? How does that fit in with the kind-hearted soul idea? Do you think he set out to trick me from the very start?
I'm sorry to say, that does seem likely, yes.
When I first met him, he introduced himself as a wealthy financier. He looked over the paper I'd written and said my work would benefit all of humanity and must be pursued. He was so enthused, he was so emphatic.
But in reality, he was the mastermind of some vast criminal network, it seems.
I still can't believe it.
As the machine was essentially a set decoration for some stage magic, it probably didn't require a large amount of investment, actually. But the scale of it wasn't just some small trick. It was a very elaborate feat of deception.
All young scientists are full of hope about their burgeoning ideas, full of zeal, like the Kingdom of Zeal, but none of us have any money. We want to do research, but we can't afford it. Many of us take on barely legal part-time work to try to earn just a few measly pennies to carry on. To go through all of that only to be taken for a complete fool. It's too rotten to believe.
It is, I agree. And that's why we have to find those responsible and bring them to justice. Mr. Asmund is no more, of course, which leaves only the engineer. Mr. Enoch Drebber. Is he an engineer or a magician? Or a swindler?
It was about a year ago when Mr. Asmund first brought Drebber to meet me at my laboratory. Since then, I've met him many times to discuss the details of the kinesis machine.
He cites Scotland Yard coroner, leader of the forensic investigation team, one of Lord Stronghold's most trusted allies. Drebber is not here yet because I haven't seen him. But at no point did you have any inkling he was just an illusionist.
Oh, he definitely wasn't just an illusionist.
What do you mean?
He was a wealth of deep scientific knowledge. There's no question that the man's a genuine scientist. It is instantly apparent in conversation.
I see. I feel like these days researchers and scientists have it better off. I don't know. The world seems to have turned its back on science in many cases. The hell? Okay.
That wretched man deceived you, Professor. It's unforgivable.
We must do everything we can to find him and bring him to justice. Are there no more clues you could give us as to his whereabouts?
I'm sorry, we only ever discussed the kinesis machine. Nothing else. Although, just once, I did visit his workshop.
What workshop?
Drebber's enormous fabrication laboratory where he constructed my great machine.
Like how she slow turned to the camera. Why didn't you mention this before? Enoch Drebber's workshop. There's every chance we might find the man there. So you've been to Drebber's place of work, then?
Yes, just once, you understand. It was an enormous place, plenty of room to construct the kinesis machine, you see.
Where can we find it? We have to go there at once. There's a good chance that we'll find Drebber there.
Well, yes, definitely. I'm sure, as in, I'm sure you're not going to want to hear this.
Kinesis machine, moving machine, teleporter.
But I've absolutely no idea where the workshop is at all. I'm so sorry.
I was more than half expecting that.
You see, I was blindfolded in the carriage the entire way there.
He blindfolded you? He wasn't taking any chances then.
The place was incredible, the pinnacle of modern engineering. Even the oil he used was the very best. A special French machine oil that's impossible to obtain in Britain. Ah, the indescribable scent of that imported oil. Perfumers across the world should just forget their secret formulae and use that instead.
What do you think, Miss Sato? Eau machine for your next birthday? I've never used any kind of perfume, Mr. Naruhodo, and I'm not sure I'd like to start with that. I don't suppose you even know the part of the workshop's address, Professor. You don't have a business card from Mr. Drebber, for example. The man was clearly cautious, Mrs. Sato. I'm sure he would never have...
Aha! Yes, I do. He gave me his business card once. It's right here, look. Maybe it's a car for land, air, and sea. No, it's a teleporting device. It's literally the basis of this entire case. You get beamed from here, and then you get beamed here, and then you fall and die. That's it in a nutshell. That's how this guy died. There's the machine that beams you. What? Let me see that. Throw etiquette to the wind, why don't you? Enoch Drebber, engineer. I'm afraid that's all it says. There's no address. No. Oh, well, I can't say I'm surprised. Still, this could be useful. Mr. Enoch Drebber's business card that only shows the man's name. There's no address. Oil. Stark smudge here. I think perhaps it's machine oil. Ah, yes, possibly. Professor Hairbrain mentioned something about the oil Mr. Drebber uses, didn't he? He said it was specially imported, very high-quality oil that's impossible to obtain in Britain. Yes, that's right, but more importantly, that's more fragrant than the finest perfume. So excuse me a moment. Oh, it doesn't appear to have any scent at all. Don't worry, I expect it's just because there's such a tiny amount here. There's a smear of machine oil on the reverse. It's pretty thick cardstock. What's this plus mean? What's that minus mean in the corner? Professor Hairbrain, what do you make of this? Oh yes, that's just what I need to prove my hypothesis, isn't it? No, it's nothing to do with your hypothesis, actually. Then take it away, I don't want to be bothered with anything that doesn't assist my science. Alright, keep your abundant hair on. How could... Oh, okay. This is the same dialogue as yesterday. I'll see you on the 25th, 26th side. I'm gonna stream tomorrow. But have a good day. Talk to you later. Thank you. Thank you for stopping by. I'm actually gonna stop in like a minute, so it's fine. Oh, same dialogue as the newspaper. Just seeing if he has any other dialogue. I'm not going to go anywhere else. I'm going to stop here for tonight. Professor, do you recognize this? Oh, it's Andrew, my faithful friend. How have you been? Are you alright? Nobody's mistreated you, have they? Don't worry, he's being very well looked after. I always rub him with machine oil until he's gleaming. Right. And then when I come to tighten a screw with him, he slips in my hand and I can't do it. Haha, it's that age-old problem faced by driver files in the world over, isn't it? I really wouldn't know, I'm afraid. Alright, and that's everything. So we still can't go to the prosecutor's office. I don't think anything new's happening at Two Spells. Yet. Okay, so we're left with two options right now. We're left with the experimentation stage of the forensics laboratory. We will go to the forensics laboratory. We'll take a little glimpse. We'll get a little peek. Just to sweat our appetite. Look, there's a skeleton. There we go. Look. Perfect ending to the stream. Skeleton, owl, crow. Beautiful. Couldn't ask for a better ending to a stream. There's a skull there. He's looking at you. He loves you. Blood. 23rd October Forensics Laboratory. And this is where we will be shoving off for the evening. Because it is 3:30 and I need to stop. So.
tomorrow will be my last stream before PAX. I get off work at 8. I'm going to try to start streaming at like 9:30. I'm going to try really early because I want to make sure I finish this. I'm going to finish Chapter 3. If there's still time afterwards, I may do something else. It's going to probably take me a whole stream. I may just end early and get packing a bit. So, we probably won't do anything else other than this tomorrow, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. Play the game in all the available outfits. Having wrung your hands through every debate about stepladders and ladders. Having read every new idea on Iris's blackboard. All I'm missing is Ace of Spades, which is... Examine the shovel in episode 3 with Susato. Oh, there's a shovel there. And examine the shovel with Susato in episode 4. Okay, so I gotta remember to examine the shovel when I go back to the waxworks. And then there's stuff in 4 and 5. This is beating all the cases. So yeah, we've pretty much done all the superfluous stuff. So yeah, thank you. Thank you for coming. I'm really enjoying this game. Can't wait to see where it goes. Cosmo might be alive. Who fucking knows? I made a rhyme there. I'm a poet and I didn't even know it. If you want to check out more streams, check out twitch.tv/team/wildabandon. Plenty of people streaming there right now. My auto host does not take you to them automatically. I found out that we can't host a team for some reason. But hey, stick around. There's someone to watch. Or maybe you could find someone else to watch. Thank you all for coming. I will see you tomorrow with a possibly long stream. Definitely earlier stream to finish this case up. And then we'll take a break. And I'll come back with Chapter 4 next week. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.